What's up, everybody? We are live. Maybe I should put my microphone up to my face so y'all can hear what I'm saying. We are live right now on YouTube. We're live on X. We are about to be live on Rockfin. Shout out to my Rockfin family. What's we like? We're live on Rumble. Shout out to my Rumble people. Y'all know what time it is. I appreciate y'all, but at least for now, I can't actually see y'all's comments. I'm gonna remedy that. I'm gonna figure out a way this week so that I can look at y'all's comments, but also like y'all know I live in Brazil and Rumble in Brazil and beefing. So that's what I'm dealing with. Today is a very special day. Boy, you better not be throwing up on me. We gonna fight. We gonna fight. We got a special guest in the house today. Mr. Lotch's Deshaun House just turned 4 months today. 4 months, man. Time flies by, doesn't it? He look completely different. Boy, that boy handsome though, ain't he? Yeah, just like your daddy. I know. Look at boy, he's looking at himself right now. I just want y'all to know that. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, my son, nobody loves themselves. Nobody loves looking at themselves more than my son enjoys looking at himself. I promise you, this boy is I don't know how you say it in English. Well, nosy, I guess you could say. He's fofoqueiro. That's how they say it in Portuguese. You pull out your phone. If you just watching YouTube, he's not gonna look at your phone. If you're just watching TikTok, usually, he's not gonna look at your phone. But if you look like you looking at some drama or you texting somebody, that boy. Or if you pull out the camera, he only wants to look at the camera if he's looking at himself. If you pull out the phone to take a picture of him, he'll start looking away. It's funny as hell. But yeah, my little man turned 4 months today. He's so big. Look how big he is, y'all. Who we got in the chat? We got Max. What's going on, man? Look how big this man is. That man's huge now. He's still a brat. He is a brat. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. It's my baby boy, but he is a brat. I have to ask him every day. He thinks that we're his slaves. It's basically, that's what happens when you have both parents who work in the house all day, right? It's just like it's natural operant conditioning at this point. This man's like, oh, y'all are here every day. Y'all give me my food. Y'all do whatever I say whenever I cry. You don't leave me with anybody because we don't leave him with anybody. Therefore, you're my slaves until I can understand the concept of parenting. But yeah, this is my baby boy getting big. We got Sophia. What's going on? Bom dia, bom dia. Bom dia pra você. Tudo bem? Luke Carlos. Cute baby. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Aki Woman 1. Thank you very much. He is adorable when he's calm like this. He said, happy 4 months, baby boy. What's his sign? He is he's a Pisces. He's a Pisces sun. Don't quote me. He's Pisces. I think he's Pisces, Cancer, and Aquarius. Don't quote me on that though. Something like that. American Disaster. Nina. Oh man. Speaking of Nina, we're gonna have a conversation about something that she put on Twitter this weekend that I have a disagreement about. Whew. Man, and it sucks too. I hate having disagreements like that with people that I believed in. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to say she's a bad person. I don't want to say that because Nina's not. I can't call Nina a bad person, right? Because Nina doesn't openly attack people. She doesn't go after people's characters. So I don't like calling people a bad person. But, you know what I'm saying? Like she had an opportunity. She went on CNN. She had an opportunity to say the right thing or do the right thing. And she did not. Once again, as if she was ingratiating herself with the Democratic Party. So I was going to save it for Thursday, but I think we're going to talk about it now. You want to go back with Mama? You want to go back? Look, y'all, he's standing up, by the way. This isn't me holding him. He just likes standing up. Like I've been telling y'all, he fights with me about it. I just tried to sit him down, and he just stood himself right the hell back up. So I'm on. Você quer pegar ele? Você quer pegar ele? Por favor? Não vou levantar. Não vou não. Obrigado. Sério. Obrigado. Mom was there waiting for me. She's like, I'm not about to get in front of the camera. I'm not a public person. Que foi? Eu não tô falando de você. Eric, what's going on? John Kemper, what's going on? Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much for the compliments, people. Now back to my other baby. Because it is Mimosa Mondays. You know, my first sip, as always, is for the homies doing hard time, working 9 to 5, who can't take a sip with me, so I'm going to take a sip for them. American is asking. I think you did tell me that. I think I knew that. I figured you were saying that, but also I was just saying, yeah, Nina, you reminded me that Nina pissed me off a little bit. Yeah, Sophia, her English is. You know what's crazy about her English? She don't speak any English, right? She's learning, she's trying, but the area that she comes from is very rural. I was just saying the other day on Pat Henderson's show that so my wife actually comes from an area where she did not have internet until she was an adult who moved to Rio because she grew up in a rural part of Brazil, a part that is so rural, ladies and gentlemen. When they say they're going to work, they're actually going to grow their own food. That is not hyperbole. They're like, yo, man, I'm about to go apartment hunting or house hunting. What they mean is I'm going to go find the materials to build my own house. That is what they mean. They grow their own rice. They grow their own cattle. They grow their own chickens, hens, whatever. They grow all that stuff. Like that's what she grew up with. They didn't have air conditioning. She said her dad didn't get his first air conditioning in the house until long after she had already had her first son. So like years after she moved. So when I tell you rural, she didn't even hear English until she moved to Rio. So now it's actually, even though she's learning how to read and write it and she can understand some stuff, speaking it is actually very, very difficult for her. More difficult than for the average Brazilian. It's not that she doesn't recognize the words when she sees them. It's just that she's literally never heard it until she's heard Spanish because even in Maranhão, there's a lot of immigrants from Venezuela and Argentina, and I think Uruguay or Paraguay who work in the area. So she's heard Spanish before, but English is something she basically never heard. It was like meeting an American wasn't a crazy concept to her until she moved to Rio. That was like not even a possibility. So now she only just understands the stuff where she knows I'm talking about her. I don't know how she's figuring that shit out, but if I'm talking about her, she figured that out quick. It's hilarious, actually. But yeah, I gave her some motivation. She wasn't, like she was arguing with me, bro. This was not a huge contention. Not really an argument, but like she was content because she's like, well, shit, you already speak Portuguese. Why the hell I need to learn English? If we ever move back to the States, you can just speak for me because she's also one of those type of people who don't really care to talk to a bunch of people anyway. So she's perfectly fine not communicating. I was like, yeah, except for you don't want to live in a house where both of your sons can speak English and you can't understand the word that they're saying. But when I tell you that Duolingo app opened up so quick, she said you can get the premium. You can go ahead and pay the premium, so I don't have to deal with that. I was like, yeah, you don't want that problem. I promise you, especially in English. She miss attitude. She be having attitude problems. Shit. She was raised by a grandma, so she be having attitude because grandmas be having attitudes. So when you're raised by your grandma, that's the attitude you get. Well, we are here, baby. We are live on Mimosa Mondays. So y'all know how it goes. Now I think we have everybody here. First of all, y'all like this video. Y'all share the video. Make sure that you subscribe if you have not done so. And the pecking order goes, Subscribers. We will answer the subscription, or our subscribers, whoever subscribe, we answer their questions first. They have priority. Then it's super chats. Then it's whoever I think has the most interesting questions. And then in between all that good stuff, we will be checking out random stuff that I found interesting over the last weekend or since we last talked. In case you missed it, me and Nick did a show together. Me and Nick Cruz, Socialist MMA on Twitter, RBN Extraordinaire. We did a show on Friday, the banger as expected. So I definitely urge you to check that out if you have not yet. Also, we had a great week last week, y'all. I don't know where the hell y'all came from, but I appreciate it. We had like 100 subscribers in a week. We are well on our way back to hitting that 50,000 subscriber mark. After, like I told y'all before, after Twitter not basically took us out, they removed us from the partner program once upon a time. And the reason why, so they told us generally that we broke the rules, but then when I appealed it, they told us because we bullied Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, that was a strange reason to get removed from the partner program. We know it wasn't really because of that. It was because we were showing the footage of January 6th, the footage of Convo Couch that got stolen by ABC and other mainstream medias that, by the way, they never got credit for. The same footage that was being ran on mainstream media, we were showing it, but we got it directly from the Convo Couch because they were on site recording everything, and they punished us for it. So that's really what it was. But we were at 50,000, and then they just started killing us, cutting us at the knees, took us out of the partner program. So we're trying to rebuild that audience back up, and you guys have been doing such a great job helping us do that. So I want to thank y'all, man. And shout out to all my new people, man. I hope that y'all enjoy the content. I hope that y'all really enjoy Mimosa Mondays, because I ain't gonna lie, Mimosa Mondays is probably my favorite stream of the week because we have a really good time, man. We talk about everything. So shout out to all my Rockfin people. Hold on, let me find y'all. I ain't gonna let y'all down again. You know, man, look. I only got one screen, y'all. I'll tell you, ain't like what it used to be. I used to have two screens. Now I only got one screen. I got my iPad open though, so that's how I'm gonna keep up with y'all. Gotta hack the system. So shout out to my Rockfin people. We y'all send tips, I'll check y'all out too. John McCarthy, first super chat of the day. Thank you very much. Sorry your last name is McCarthy, but I appreciate the super chat, John. Will you go to Tampa in September to cover observed protest Uru 3 trial? So, funny it's funny that you mentioned that, because one, I'm supposed to be doing an interview with the Urus, but two, that was something that I actually was planning on doing because I was already planning on being in South Florida, taking care of just, average stuff for my son, stuff for life, because I am still an American citizen, so I got something to do there. So I was planning on being there, but I have not decided if I'm going to be able to make the move to Tampa specifically because I don't know if my son will be with me. And the truth is, I can't really afford any problems, just to be completely transparent. My son is a newborn, and that Uru trial, as much as I want to be there on site for it, it is a dangerous place to be. And I don't want any Scott Ritter problems. By Scott Ritter problems, I don't want them to take my damn passport, cause problems with my residency, anything like that, while my son at that time would be, 6 or 7 months old. So that's the only reason that I'm kind of hesitant about it. I will be covering it, but I don't know if I'm going to actually make an appearance there because I just don't want any problems, yo. Not right now. Normally I would. Normally, y'all know I don't give a damn, but I'm not taking the heat for that type of stuff. But with the newborn, it's a little bit different. My priorities are a little bit different. Not sellout different, but can't leave the wife with 2 kids in a foreign country by herself, with one of them being a newborn. Okay, so I definitely will be covering that though. Critical Minds show. I just watched an interview by Jimmy Dore with James Corbett. What? I gotta watch that. That's kind of crazy. So hold on. Did Jimmy Dore go on James Corbett's show or the other way around? Cream pie lard. I'm gonna show this. This is funny as hell. I'm gonna go steal a bite later. Got any advice on how not to get caught? Don't steal it. I don't know what to tell. I don't know. Don't steal it. I don't know. Why do I get commercials during your lives? Because any live stream that's monetized usually get commercials. To my knowledge, I get commercials when I watch on my television. Oh, sorry, I thought you were a Trumpist. Who thought I was a Trumpist? I'm not. No, sir. We don't believe in the duopoly here, sir. We break down the duopoly. If you're new to this channel, people, we tell it straight. We tell it like it is. But I do not support the duopoly in any way, form, or fashion. Both candidates work for the establishment in some capacity. I beyond the assassination of Soleimani, arming the Saudi Arabians and arming terrorists in the genocide of Yemen during his administration, getting Assange pulled out of the Ecuadorian embassy and put in Belmarsh, or basically putting Chelsea Manning back on trial in a way that undercut the double jeopardy rule by assigning a special counsel and then imprisoning her for, I don't know, like 60 days or something like that, and putting her back in debt just to get to Julian Assange. Assassination of Soleimani once again. Like, Trump wasn't doing that. Wasn't for us. It wasn't for free speech. It wasn't even for his base, man. He was kissing Julian Assange's ass, right? Then went on to allow his administration to torture him effectively and spy on him. But I'm also not the type of person that's going to be like, I'm going to tell the truth about when our rights are potentially at risk and when we're seeing a double standard and hypocrisy. Because, for example, I don't believe that anything regarding January 6th is legitimate, right? Especially as somebody who was a co-founder of the DNC fraud lawsuit, I know probably better than almost anybody. The Democrats don't believe in democracy. And I do also know probably better than most that if you challenge the Democrats where they do cheat or where there is a possibility that they have cheated, it can get dangerous for your life. And I'm just speaking as somebody that was personally threatened when I founded the DNC fraud lawsuit. Our secretary was threatened. Our family, well, not my family, thank God, because they didn't really know anything about him. But yeah, the families of people who worked in the same office as me, people that were listed as part of the class in that case. Like, so we'll tell it like it is about both parties, but don't ever mistake that for me. If I defend something like because the Democrats are doing wrong, that means I like Trump. Now, I will say I do miss him on Twitter because he was hilarious. I will give him that. We are anti-broke. Excuse me, anti-broke. Exactly. That is a fact. We are anti-broke. I support. The Corbett interview is dope. Really? See, man, I'm gonna check that out. I'm probably gonna check that out. Niko sold out the Big Baby. Boy, did I? Did I? Boy, listen, sold out. I can't even say I sold out. I'm in debt to Big Baby. Y'all saw that, man? Y'all know how much this man is on formula and breastfeeding because the breastfeeding is just not enough. It is just not. He is so big. Our neighbor asked the other day, like, oh, because she wasn't aware. Well, she knows how old he is, but she couldn't remember. So she's like, oh, so y'all already started feeding him real food. And we're like, no, he just drinks milk. Because he's huge. He is massive. He's bigger than I was when I was a baby. I don't know what. I mean, I'm a big guy. Like, for those of you who don't know, I'm like 6'1". I'll hover anywhere between 210 and 215 if I'm working out. The biggest I've ever been was 6'1". I'm 6'1 and a half. But the biggest I've ever been was 6'1", like 230. But I was like jacked. I didn't even realize I was jacked because I suffer from body dysmorphia. So I'm over here thinking I'm like small or average size until I go back and look at pictures of myself. I'm like, oh shit. No wonder why people were so scared of me when I walked by them. Overrated, yeah. My last breastfed till 18 months. It was crazy because people thought I was nuts, but he was needy. Yeah, so Levi, the oldest, he breastfed for 11 months. And he was needy, but like, yeah, he was like he had grown accustomed to her, not because she pumped too with him because she was working still. So he wasn't as bad. But and I ain't gonna lie, Lachesis is needy. Lachesis is a when I say needy, he a different kind of needy. He's a kind of needy that can only come from being extremely conscious of your environment. It's almost borderline manipulative. I would describe him as an emotional terrorist because what he does, okay, what he does is sometimes in the middle of the night he'll wake up, but he's not really. I don't know if he's actually awake, but he's awake enough. He wakes up, lifts his head like this to make sure that we're both still in the room. Because if we're not in the room, if even one of us at that time of the night, if even one of us is not in the room, he will scream. And he won't cry. He will just scream until both of us are united again so he can go back to sleep. I've never seen anything like it. He's just, in Portuguese, they call him mal acostumado. It's not like we picked him up all the time. He's okay if he's like sitting beside me or sitting on my lap. But if he's laying down, he's fine. But he wants to see both of us there, or at least his mom and his brother, or at least me and his brother. Like he needs to see the family unit intact. It's like my damn dog. My dog was like that. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know if you call that needy because he's not necessarily needy for like attention. He just needs to know that we're around. And I guess I don't know. I've never really been in a situation where a baby has had both parents around all the time. Right? If that makes sense. Not raised with both parents. I mean, literally, I work in the house. So he wakes up, I'm there. He goes to sleep, I'm there. He takes a nap, I'm there. His mom is in the house all the time. When he wakes up, she's there before she goes to sleep. Like, it's kind of unique. It's kind of a unique situation, unless you were a baby born in the pandemic, I guess. But yeah, I'm not really like, I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing because everybody like talks about how conscious he is, like how cognizant and aware of his surroundings. So I think that it's actually just him being hyper aware already that we're his caregivers, and so he just always wants us to be there, and he just doesn't know how to express it. He also just is kind of a brat when it comes to wanting to stand up. He's in this phase where he doesn't want to crawl. He's over it. He never started, but he's over it, and he just wants to walk. So he just wants us to be his support system. And I don't mean figuratively, I mean quite literally. He wants us to hold his arms while he does his little catwalk on the ground. It's the cutest thing in the world. I think Sophia said, I think you either have to have both parents speak the language or you go live in a country that speaks it in order to learn a language. That's my experience. So I don't know. So I've seen a situation, for example, I have a friend in Brazil who speaks fluent Spanish, but she speaks Portuguese, Spanish, and English. She speaks fluent Spanish because her dad is Argentinian. So her dad, at the time where she was growing up, her dad preferred to speak Spanish because he was still learning Portuguese. So whenever he interacted with his daughter, however, he spoke Spanish. And because Spanish is also the type of language where if you speak it enough, especially if you're not, if you ever learn another language and you're in like a mixed household, you'll learn really quick that you kind of almost develop your own language. It's kind of weird to explain, but if you know, like because people, when you're in your own house, y'all only use certain words over and over and over again when you're talking to each other in certain phrases. And you'll have like certain inside jokes and you kind of know what each other are going to say in certain situations. So you end up developing your own language. You understand like the inflections, the sarcasm, the tone of voice, et cetera, et cetera. And so in that situation, her dad spoke Spanish. And then he's fluent in Portuguese now, and you wouldn't know that he didn't know Portuguese when she was born. Or excuse me, yeah, you wouldn't know that he didn't know Portuguese back in the day when she was born. But that's how she learned Spanish, and probably there might be a difference because of the similarities in languages. But yeah, so she was learning Spanish and Portuguese as she grew up, and she didn't know she was speaking two different languages until um, I'm assuming actually until she went to go visit. Actually, I think that's what she said when she went to go visit her family in Argentina or the States. I can't remember which one. And she would try. She said a word. She was speaking Spanish, but she said a few words in Portuguese, and they didn't understand her. And then that's when she learned, like as a kid, she was speaking two different languages. But you do. I feel like it's important to go live in the country. However, from English speakers here, the very very few that I know, they actually said that it's harder for them. They said English is hard for them, was hard for them to speak, but it's because of just the language of Portuguese. It's actually probably the same reason that Black people have so much trouble learning Portuguese, because the accent difference is so strong. It's such a huge difference than speaking like it's actually like the difference between somebody speaking professional English versus somebody in the Bronx speaking. Like it's like that big of a difference. So it's like imagine the average Black person from an area where they have a strong accent, like maybe they're from the Bronx, maybe they're from the Bay Area, or deep in the South, and then you have to switch and learn a whole new language, but the language is extremely predicated, like the communication of the language is extremely predicated on the ability to speak in the accent correctly. Like that is a huge thing in Brazil. You could say the word correctly, right? But if you're not speaking in the flow and intonation and the accent in a way that they can understand, a lot of people here, because also half of the country is literally illiterate, at least for the time being, they're working on that. But that's not hyperbole. I think it's more than half. If not, it's either more than half or it's a little bit less than half, but it's way too much. Like they have a rhythm to speak. And if you don't know how to imitate that rhythm, it's hard for them to understand you a lot of times. Could you advise African Americans to come own the mining industry in Africa instead of foreign entities exploring it? We need African Americans to help us. See, I think that's a great idea. The only problem is we don't really know how. I think there needs to be more education. So there needs to be some outreach, right? There needs to be more outreach between Africans and the African American community on the business side. So there has to be way more business. That really, in my opinion, goes to the venture capitalism side. Just a lot of industries that many Black people have never actually delved into or had a lot of access to, and therefore isn't a huge part of our culture. The only ones who really delve into venture capitalism on a wide scale are athletes, and they aren't really connected to the average African American. So I think it's a multi-layered issue. I agree that more African Americans should be involved, but there has to be, in my opinion, some cooperation. And I wish I could say how we achieve that, because right now it's hard to know. Like these Chinese industries, for example, I'm not just Chinese. I'm just giving the example because that's the last thing I read about. Like there's a lot of Chinese industries that own a lot of the mines in the Congo, and it's because they were massive industry. They were massive energy companies in the past before they even became the owners of those mines in the Congo. So it's a problem. But basically, the truth is, we just need more African Americans to visit Africa in general, and that is on my list of things to do within the next year or so, is to go to Africa. Well, technically, I've already been, but I mean, the other parts of Africa. I've already been to Africa. That was Egypt. And so I need to go to sub-Saharan, basically, Africa. Luke Carlos said that he said, my daughter is bilingual. I spoke only English and my wife spoke only Spanish, and now she's fluent in both. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Spanish is also, if you live in the States, I feel like Spanish is also so much more accessible. That's also a huge difference. I feel like between Portuguese and Spanish and English. As far as English is concerned, you can learn English here if you like took classes. Now you're not going to be perfect in it, but if you took classes, if you put in the work, you can speak enough because everything here, if it isn't Portuguese, it's English. I'm saying if it like the culture here, bro. Let me tell y'all. I don't know if y'all know this, but Brazil is primarily black. It has the largest population of black people. Uh, then it has more than every other country in the world except for Nigeria, literally. So there are certain things in our culture, specifically like black culture, American culture too, but specifically black culture, that they are obsessed with here. So y'all know that show Everybody Hates Chris? That a lot of people have learned English watching Everybody Hates Chris. Yes, I know. But it's because the show is actually so relatable to them as Brazilians, as black Brazilians specifically. Like if you and it's funny, like now that I've lived in Brazil long enough and I've interacted with enough Brazilians, like I'm like, damn, no wonder they relate to this show so much. It's just not that far off of it. Like it's not that far off of a difference in culture. You know, just the way they go, the family dynamic, et cetera, et cetera. And so a lot of people learn English through watching our shows, listening to our music. I've heard a kid rap a song word for word, perfect accent. But if you ask him a question in English, you're like, "What? What are you talking about? I can't speak. I can't respond." But it's but like for my friends that are trying to learn Portuguese right now, and there's a lot of people actually trying to learn Portuguese. I'm kind of surprised about, but my friends learning Portuguese right now, they're finding it difficult because of the accents. And there's not a lot of access. I'll say também. There's not a lot of access to Brazilian culture. Not that there isn't, but you got to go get it. You got to know who to ask, know what to look for, know what songs to listen to. Like it's harder to know where to go to get that, and then to communicate with people about it. It's not like Spanish. Spanish, you want to learn Spanish, boy. Especially if you know, depending on what part of the country you live in, you have just as much access to Spanish culture as you do to American culture or English culture specifically, right? In the States, it's like that here. You do have a lot of access to Spanish culture in Brazil as well. So so Argentina and Colombia, for example, they love coming to Brazil for their like spring break, graduation presents, whatever. A lot of them prefer Brazil over, or Rio specifically, over those other over the United States. It's a big old thing. Chile also. So, but it's because the culture of Brazil is actually really popular there, and it's easily accessible because of the proximity. Just like with white people, most all people become class loyal to their new elite class and the system that got them there. Anti-bro. Yes, 100%. It's unfortunate, man. I'll put that back up there. Y'all need to go ahead and marinate on that one. It's sad, bro. We are in a world right now where, oh, hold on. We are in a world right now where I feel like we don't have a middle class anymore. And it's, I wish I could be like, oh, the middle class disappearing. Like, I don't think we have a middle class anymore. Listen, my mom, one of the hardest working people that I know. She's also one of the most intelligent people I know. She earns pretty well for herself, but she has to work 3 jobs. And has a good job. Like her primary is in this because she just so happened to have diabetes. So she could get a raise, but it's not going to matter because her health insurance goes up, her premiums go up, her deductibles go up every time she gets a raise, every time she gets older, right? And then when she files taxes, they're not going to take think about it, guys. If she files taxes, do they take your taxes out after your health insurance comes out or before, right? They take it out before. So it's like, so there are a lot of people in this weird space, and that now every time they make more money, they're actually making less money We don't. It's hard to say we have a middle class anymore, guys. And the loyalty, I actually saw a tweet of an article, or at least the heading of the article, where a lady was like, let's not ignore the culture war to fight the class war. Boy, I almost lost it. I thought it was satire, but it's real. It was real. She was dead ass serious. And that's what I mean. I get so tired of the culture war shit, bro. I'm tired of it. I'm exhausted of it. I'm tired of looking at it. I know some people be wanting me to cover it more, and sometimes we do when I feel like it's like egregious, or when it's funny. But there's so many people who get so focused on the culture war. Even with this thing with Europe, it's such a huge conversation in Europe, a cultural. Oh, all these Muslims and brown people are here, is destroying Europe. I'm like, hold on, why are they there again? It's the same conversation we have about the United States. Why are they there? What possibly could have changed in the last 50 to 60 years that would make them want to leave their country and go to yours? Could it have anything to do with the fact that y'all keep working together to destroy their countries? Do you, like, a lot of Caribbeans, especially Jamaicans, end up in the UK? Do you know why? Because those countries were colonized by the UK. Like, if y'all would have and would just mind your damn business, we wouldn't even be having the conversation about culture wars. But it's like, there has to be a scapegoat, right? There has to be a scapegoat. When people feel like they're not being heard, they have to blame somebody. When people feel like their fears are not being acknowledged, they have to blame somebody. That must mean it's like almost like a family dynamic, but more toxic and on a international scale, but whatever. Like, if you're not giving me enough attention as a sibling, it must be because you're giving my brother or my sister too much attention. Therefore, I'm gonna have a grievance against her because I can't really challenge my parents. Not really, right? Because you're gonna get in trouble. They're gonna make you seem like you're crazy. So instead of challenging the parents or the people who are responsible for people fleeing to these countries where they believe it is safer for them, and I mean, objectively speaking, it is, because Europe is going to like bomb itself. The United States is going to bomb itself. Well, can't say that. They have bombed themselves. But you know what I'm saying? They're not going to bomb massive populations of people, massive swaths of people. And you see people use the culture war to either distract, they at least use it to distract from the class war. But then other people use it to profit because Western algorithms are driven by hate. And it's sad, bro. It's really sad that people get so thrown off by these culture war conversations, which in my opinion, I just feel like they're so silly half the time, but people take this shit super serious, at least on social media, which is super weird because I feel like a lot of the times people take it way more serious on social media than they actually take it in real life. But it's because of the engagement they get. It's that dopamine hit they get from getting the likes and the retweets and the reposts on Facebook or the YouTube videos. Like, people are becoming millionaires off of spewing hate, and to be frank, off of spewing lies without context. They claim to be patriotic. So when they talk about the culture war, they don't want to talk about their country's involvement in creating the problem that they're allegedly trying to solve. Brian T, thank you very much. Do you find it difficult to make neutral content that both sides can agree with to share? So that's an interesting question. I don't find it difficult to make neutral content that they can agree with to share because I don't really care if they find my content neutral. So I guess I should be more. I guess I should be more conscious of that, huh? I don't know. Hey, I guess I would be more, a little bit more famous if I was making more neutral. I don't make neutral content. I make objective content. I sometimes maybe that objectivity can manifest as neutrality, because if I don't have an answer, y'all know me, I'm not going to be one of those guys who feigns like I'm angry or upset and picks a side just so I can get rage clicks. I just am not that type of person. I'm a very emotional and passionate person, but I am not the type of person to feign like just rage like a lot of people do. I'm not Destiny, okay? I'm not like Niko or a lot of these cats out here, or TYT, right? I don't do that. I don't got time for it. I don't got the energy for it. But Do I find it difficult? So I can say that I do find it frustrating that there are a lot of people who claim they want the truth. They claim they want objectivity. They claim they want not necessarily neutrality, but they do want the facts. And it's frustrating if I get people from the left or people on the right who get extremely upset because now I got to call out your guy or your team and you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear it. But it's like for me, if my one thing, if even if you disagree with me on something, people, especially if you're new here, you should probably know this. Even if you disagree with me on something, my logic is consistent, right? And you never really got to question whether or not I'm coming from a place of honesty. That's never really been a question. But my logic is consistent. And if if there's an apparent inconsistency in my logic, I will address it because there's usually a miscommunication. But generally speaking, my logic is consistent. So you can disagree because everybody is, well, I don't like saying everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but everybody is allowed to have their own opinion. Okay, so you can disagree. What I don't like is when people try to make a value judgment on my character or my integrity because we disagree, right? And I don't like the fact that a lot of the independent content creator community, specifically in this space, of people who will agree with you, right? They like I have a lot of people who agree with me. I remember back in the day, like before I, had such a massive audience, there was so many people that I found out that watched my show. And this is back when I was doing I was just in the trenches all the time. And I found out from a super popular streamer that they watch my show all the time, but they just don't want to but they don't tell anybody. They don't follow me and they would just take my arguments, take my information without giving me credit because they knew I couldn't do anything about it. One, and because they didn't want me to get popular because that's just another person they have to compete with. You get what I'm saying? And I'm not the type to ask kiss. I'm just not that type of person. So a lot of people here, they want you to kiss their ass, and it's not really about your stances or their position or your position or your ability to argue your position. It's really like, do you kiss my ass enough? Do you feed people to my channel enough? Then we can be friends. Do you call me out? Do you call out my positions whenever I'm wrong, or do you just let it slide? You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. That is what makes it frustrating because then you just have a lot more people who are willing to steal content, steal facts, steal information, not give credit where credit is due. You have a jealousy issue. And then whenever people are stealing content and they have the ability, because they've been doing it for so long, they have the ability to steal your content, get it out faster than you do, get it out into more platforms than you can. Like that is what sucks because it can hurt your ability to grow. And then people think, there are people, I'm not going to say no names, but, people will go to the comment sections and be like, yo, this is Niko said this. Y'all not going to give Niko his credit on this? Or back in the day, Convo Couch, whenever they were on the ground, they're like, yo, Fiorella and Pasta said this. Y'all not going to give Pasta and Fee credit for their stuff? And that was consistent, man. That was a consistent issue. So we were doing work based off of primary source investigative journalism, and people were stealing that. People that we would probably consider friends. And we just didn't want to start any beef with them. So we just let it, whatever, it is what it is. Because it was for the movement. But it's not necessarily making objective content. I feel like objective content is easy. It's easier. It's way easier for me to make objective content. The problem is everybody, like you said, Brian, everybody feels like, damn, I don't know, based off the title or because of my disagreement, or not even because I disagree with this, but because I'm worried my friends might disagree with it. I'm not going to share it, but I'm going to like it. And I'm gonna watch it because that happens a lot. There are people who will just DM me separately. Hey man, I really want to share this, but my conservative friends or my liberal friends, that type of shit. So, good question. Ooh, I got a brainer question to ask Niko, who truly freed Julian Assange? The masses of people for years who called for free Assange, or that one anonymous Bitcoin donor who paid for Assange's private flight? Man, that's a complicated answer, but I believe it's a combination of the people, his lawyers, damn sure his lawyers. I think that the UK didn't want those problems. Russia's government ended up, or not Russia, not Russia. Australia's government ended up stepping in to some degree as well. I don't know what made them decide to step in. I don't know, maybe that Bitcoiner decided to as well. And there was once upon a time I did a show. I'm not sure if it was an interview or if I did it on my channel. But I was saying, like, if you go through the case and you look at how the facts aren't adding up, the lack of credibility within the lack of credibility on behalf of the U.S.'s witnesses, right, and their testimonies. Like I was saying back then, y'all have to remember that these judges have pride on the line. Lawyers, these attorneys have pride on the line. And I said, I have faith because no one's going to want to be that judge. That one is responsible for a journalist being extradited to another country in violation of a constitutional right that the country made up, because they expose war crimes. Nobody, I said, no federal judge is going to want to be a part of that. So there will be something done, and the judge will be able to walk off scot-free, and Julian Assange won't be necessarily scot-free. I didn't say that, but I said I do believe that he'll be released if he doesn't die in prison before a decision is made. But I did say that he was going to be released because of that, because at a certain point, bro, they got to remember, man, these bigwigs, these names, they got jobs on the line. They got legacies on the line. They don't want their legacies to be corrupted because of a decision like that. Nobody does, right? And if nobody was paying attention, I do think they would have gotten away with it. But, we got some great people on the ground. Shout out to the whole Action for Assange people. Shout out to Assange's family. People who were over in the UK doing their thing. Be careful with showing your family all over your social media. People are, I'm on social media, so people see my family. It's okay. It's not much I can do about it. I'm a public figure already, man. It is what it is. Once my wife posted it on social media, I'm like, oh, well, I was going to tell you, wait a second. But, we're here. But like I said, he's in the house all the time. So that's also why we're a little bit okay with it. Oh, I can't listen. As much as I want to get into the jabby juice, to the science juice, as somebody so eloquently put it before, I can't do that on this particular stream. But if you want to DM me so we can talk about that, maybe that's something we can talk about later. That might be a private show. Like I said, for by the way, if you're new here, you can become a member. And I've already started posting videos, by the way, for the members, private videos for the members. Once we get 20 members on YouTube, I will start doing member-only streams once a week for YouTube and for Rockfin, because we already have a lot of Rockfin premium people. So letting y'all know. Ooh, that's a good question. Is BRICS for real? My question, I'm assuming is I question. The three competing powers have different interests: China, Russia, India. China and India especially. Their border disputes and economic competition. Oh, if anything, so in my opinion, I actually think that's a good thing. The fact that Russia, China, and India have, and I mean, Brazil as well, to some degree, they have competing interests. So the fact that they're willing to do bilateral cooperation in order to achieve their independent goals is what makes BRICS so dope. It forces them to cooperate despite having competing interests. And it ends up where every country has to give a little in order to gain a lot. That's a good thing, right? So, and if you do have competing interests, like if you're economically intertwined, there's a less likelihood of you just going to war with each other, right? You have more incentive to work together to resolve those issues. That's one of the things. I mean, what do they call it? A multipolar world. That's what we need. There's always going to be competing interests. There's nothing wrong with competition. I don't think that's inherently a bad thing. Competing interests is how that's how ideas are generated. That's how creativity thrives in competition. There's nothing wrong with competing interests. The problem is that right now, if you have competing interests, the United States and or NATO will try to wipe you off the face of the fucking planet, or at the bare minimum, they'll try to overthrow your government at the bare minimum. As Bolivia. Sparky, thank you for the super chat. Build a better world with BRICS. I would even make that. I would amend that. Build a better war. That was hard. That was horrible. Build a better. Let's try it again. Build a better world with BRICS together. That's what I would say, because it's not just BRICS doing it. It's like they're asking for everyone to work together in order to get it done. That's what I like about BRICS. I don't expect it to be a perfect institution or a perfect union. Like that happens, but like perfection is not what we're asking for. I don't think anybody's asking for that. We're asking for cooperation, genuine cooperation. Dr. Nick is in his house. If BRICS comes out with the currency, BRICS is coming out with the currency allegedly. So you asked multiversal feline marks, but it's regional, excluding Brazil. What do you mean it's regional? The competing interests are regional? Because I'm not really sure what your question is. Or are you asking, is BRICS a regional thing? Because BRICS is absolutely not regional. Because the S in BRICS is, if I'm not mistaken, is South Africa. So as you can probably imagine, it's pretty far from Russia. So Kat says BRICS isn't the answer because at the end of the day, we are ruled by the same elites. BRICS still follows the agenda of the WEF. I can't say that BRICS follows the agenda of I can't say that every BRICS country, rather, follows the agenda of the WEF because, for example, Russia is constantly doing whatever the hell they want to. I can almost guarantee there is not a single person that was like at the WEF that was preaching, give ballistic missiles to North Korea so that they can help protect you in case the United States decides that they feel froggy that day, right? Or South Korea, for example. I can almost guarantee that to a large degree, even Ukraine, like has the United States been trying to bait Russia for a while now? Yeah. In skirmishes, though. Not in beef. Not in a war. Because now there has to be concessions given for the war to stop. Or Russia's going to take whatever they're going to take what they want. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, they could do that anyway. But I don't believe it was in the interest of the WEF for Russia to have more control over Ukraine's resources. Right? That it just, I don't know. I just don't, the vibes I get from Putin, his actions, because I feel like he's the most important. I feel like him and Xi Jinping are probably the most important members, but for different reasons. It's actually Xi Jinping who I'm worried about. I know everybody thinks that this man's amazing. I trust that Xi Jinping will do whatever is best for China. Right? Only for China. If working with BRICS helps China, he will work with BRICS. But you gotta remember, it's not like China had the best relationship with the United States and NAFTA. They worked with the United States because they knew that NAFTA would ultimately end up putting China in the position that they're in today. China is extremely calculating. So if you're worried about a country, and I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not really here to make a value judgment on China. I'm just not one of those people who are like, oh man, China's amazing. And I'm also not one of those people that say, oh man, China's the most horror country on the planet. I'm not one of those people either. And I don't believe that they're the biggest threat in the world. I still believe that that's the United States. And there's also the reality that you have to dichotomize China with like China, mainland China, and Hong Kong, right? Because there's a lot of companies that come out of Hong Kong that people will try, or a lot of ideas that come out of Hong Kong also that people try to attribute to mainland China, which is a fallacy. So, but if you were going to be worried about a country in BRICS, it would definitely have to be China, because Xi Jinping is not, I can't say if it's a bad thing or a good thing, but I do know that that's his first, second, third, and fourth concern is what's best for China, which for Chinese people is great, I guess. So, Sparky said WEF is globalist. Globalists hate BRICS. Yes, globalists do hate BRICS, y'all. They do. It's true. Especially because, apparently they don't allow Nazis in BRICS. So, and the WEF is effectively ran by Nazis. So. I don't know why people keep thinking that Mr. Chang, shout out to Korean flag over there, man. Annyeonghaseyo. Xi Jinping and Putin are same team WEF. I just don't really get the Putin being WEF part. I don't know why people keep saying that. I mean, I remember I tweeted out the other day. I said, like, there's not another country in the global South that has like their main, for example, in Mozambique, they have two main languages. They have their mother language, but they also have Portuguese because the Portuguese colonized them at one point. You can't say that about any other country in Central South America, the Caribbean, Africa, because modern day Russia has never tried to conquer them. You get what I'm saying? If anything, they've worked to help liberate them from their colonizers. That is the opposite of the WEF. Putin, I do know Putin's a member of the WEF. But he also tried to be a member of NATO. Right? Because Putin is the type of person who's like, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna take every single measure I can to ensure that people understand that I am willing to do bilateral cooperation where it is possible. I'm willing to work with these other nations. I am willing to work with these other world leaders. But he also proved time and time again, I will also smack the shit out you if you mess with Russia's interests or if you mess with her allies. Right? I don't care if you call yourself NATO. I don't care if you call yourself United States, UK. We know, right, that Putin is proven he a little bit different than everybody else. That's all I'm saying. Right? He a little bit different. Russians conquered mainland. You talking about the Russian Empire? Like whenever they had the monarchy? Yeah, yeah. That's a fact. I mean, that's how they were so big. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about really what Stalin, Soviet Union forward, maybe even Lenin. I have to check into the Lenin one, but basically from Stalin, Soviet Union, there's a reason that no other country has an official language of Russia, like in the global South. I mean, so Putin is different. Oh, we'll go and put this on the screen. I agree, Putin is different, but don't trust politicians' rhetoric. What did Hillary Clinton say? I don't trust Putin's rhetoric. I don't even understand Russian, so I can't really trust his rhetoric all that much. But I can trust his actions. I know that while every other Western country and some Eastern European countries are trying to destroy Syria, he's helping Syria. I know while everybody else is funding neo-Nazis, whether it be in Ukraine or in other areas around the world, Putin is trying to destroy them and actually acknowledging their existence rather than pretending like they don't exist like the US and Western powers are trying to do conveniently. So but we should never make the mistake of believing that any politician is perfect or do exactly what is best for all people. Don't ever make that mistake, because unfortunately, to gain power, you got to be willing to sacrifice that to gain that kind of power, right? You got to be willing to make some sacrifices when it comes to your integrity. That's just the reality of the world, man. It's unfortunate. So even though you can give credit where credit is due, you can't trust any politician 100%. You can't really trust any politician 50%. You can acknowledge where their interests converge, where their interests lie, and then leave it at that. Then DC said Lenin and Trotsky invaded Ukraine when they tried to establish a free community. Oh, see, I don't really consider that invading Ukraine. I guess it's probably because I just feel like Ukraine was already part of Russia, so it's not really invading Ukraine. But that could be just a difference of opinion. But Ukrainians were already speaking Russian, so they were already part of Russia. So I guess you could view it like that, but I personally don't view it like that. Is there any truth? Is there any truth that the Brooklynites want to make Khazaria great again? What is that? I have no idea what you're referring to. I have no idea what that is. Sparky, thank you very much for the super chat. Putin actually a righteous and reasonable man. Poisonings, etc., blaming on Putin were carried out by the CIA, MI6, and other Five Eyes and their associates. Yeah, actually, what's crazy about the whole Putin poisoning people thing is it's so stereotypical that it's obviously a lie. Literally, it's like the poisoning storyline is it's like, do y'all know when y'all watch American movies and they never actually hire Russian actors to play Russians in those movies? They use American actors or British actors, and they use the same stereotypical accent. It's like that. I don't know if y'all know, but the majority of movies that y'all have seen where they're speaking Russian or speaking with a Russian accent, that is not the accent of Russians. That is just not how Russians speak at all. They make everybody sound like Ivan Drago from Rocky. That's not how they talk. That's not how, when a Russian is speaking English, that is not their accent. And it's super weird. If you talk to Russians, that. It's super weird that they just use that over and over and over and over and over again. Super ominous. It's literally, it's like we're going to do Ivan Drago, but we're just going to do it over and over and over and over again. That's the poisoning story. At one point, that was probably a thing, maybe. Somebody got poisoned once or twice. That's back in the not the Soviet Union, but probably the Russian Empire days. And then they just kept running with it because it was a popular stereotype that had been well established, and therefore people would believe it if you just said it. Like if you are Putin, and if you really want to take out your enemy, why would you poison them? That is just what? Come on, bro. It's 2024. Or they've said he's poisoned people for what 10, 15 years now, but like, bro, come on, right? We got electric cars. Why the hell would you be poisoning people? It's like, I do know that Russia has one of like them. They have a lot of technological advancements. If they want to get you, they don't gotta poison you. I promise you, if Putin wanted to get you, he ain't gotta poison you. And I do agree as well that Putin is if anything, he has shown himself to be reasonable. I think that's like an objective fact. Sparky says, China thinks long term. The U.S. only thinks 10 minutes ahead at the most. Psh, you giving the U.S. way too much credit, in my opinion, good sir. I'm gonna let it ride, but I don't think that 10 minutes is a lot, don't you think? 10 minutes is a lot. They can't even, somebody thought it was a good idea to put Biden on the debate stage with no notes. So like I said, 10 minutes ahead, you giving them a lot of credit. They didn't even think 10 minutes ahead when they was like, yo, man, let's rig this primary for Joe Biden. Even though he acknowledged that he was at the age that he should only be running one term. He said it himself. I'm only going to run one term. Y'all remember that during the debates, during the primaries in 2020? He said that. He said it in multiple interviews. They knew how old he was. They were like, and we all watched his mental decline happen over the last 3.5 years, even during the primary and general election of 2020. And they're like, yeah, man, so here's what we're going to do. To stop everyone from running, we're going to literally punish you. We're going to not only punish you, but we're going to punish states who try and allow you to run. We're going to make sure that Biden wins the primary again. Yeah, I don't think they really thought that far ahead. I feel like you're giving them credit. The United States, not just the United States, I would say the majority of the West, but the United States and definitely the UK, they're up there as the top two countries who literally will just do things that are actively against their self-interest. They actively sabotage themselves. And in some cases, you wonder if it's on purpose, right? The elite sabotage on purpose because they're able. So like when the housing market crashed in 2008 and the United States actually knew about it 2 years at least prior to that, because the United Nations had a conversation about it. Because this was also in the middle of the EU opening up to the Eastern Bloc. So there was a discussion that was had about Romania. I can't remember the other country, but they were about to let in two countries that they had not previously let in 2006 because they knew that the market was about to crash in the US and the EU was tied to the US economically. So the US knew 2 years in advance. They didn't say anything. They let everything happen. They let the market crash. But just because us normal people go broke, don't make wealthy people broke. Wealthy people like a good market crash. They get to take advantage of it. But what's weird, of course, is like the people that are quote unquote elected, especially the most patriotic, allegedly, they actively make decisions and policies that are against the interests of the American people and America itself. And before it was like a little bit here, a little bit there. And now it's like, oh, no, y'all are actually making decisions that might lead to the absolute destruction of America. And y'all still don't care. Fucking Bill Gates is out there buying up all the land, y'all. He's buying up land at a ridiculous rate, and it can't be good. I don't know if he's using it to make shit, like to make things that he shouldn't be making. Like it's fake meat. I'm not down with fake meat. I don't know if y'all are, but I'm not down with it. I don't want lab grown nothing. I don't want nothing from Bill Gates, but he's either doing that or he's building shelters. And both of those things are horrible. Okay? But there's a reason for it. Okay? There's a reason for it. And it ain't good. It's the reason why people out there, I bet Duolingo, bro, I promise you, Duolingo or Follow or I guess Rosetta Stone, whatever people use nowadays to learn different languages. But when I tell you, I bet that they went flying off the application store shelf after that debate. I promise you. Hey, like, oh, nah. I'm clearly not taking my Spanish 1 class seriously enough. I need to get up out of here. I gave the U.S. the benefit of the doubt. I guess I'm sentimental. How scary is Kamala? Putin was on the fence about invading Ukraine until you heard Kamala's speech at the Munich Security Council. Ooh, that's a very good point. Kamala's scary because she's an idiot, right? Kamala's scary because somebody is actually going to convince her that she is smart, that she's making good decisions. Somebody's going to let her be the scapegoat. That's the problem with Kamala. Like, I've never seen, I don't know if I've ever seen, I wasn't alive during Harry S. Truman, but do y'all know about how Harry S. Truman came to the conclusion that he was going to basically kick off the Cold War, start the CIA, and drop the atom bombs and ignore the Yalta Conference? Because someone convinced him that Stalin was lying about the conversation that FDR and Stalin had with each other at the Yalta Conference about what countries were going to go to Russia after World War II. Somebody convinced him that Stalin was just trying to make an ass out of Truman and thought he was an idiot because Truman had little people syndrome. He had little man syndrome. He had an ego complex. And by complex, I mean that he was totally insecure. Anyone could manipulate him. Not unlike what you see today in politics, but, imagine that, but with atom bombs. So that's how they convinced him. They convinced him that it was his idea to drop the atom bombs, right? Like they convinced this dumb, because they picked the dumbest guy to replace Henry Wallace because Henry Wallace was the smartest guy. That's how Truman became president. It wasn't like they elected him. FDR died and he just assumed power. And then they just had the dumb guy do whatever they wanted. And then they called it the Truman bomb. They literally gave him credit. And he's like, yeah, Truman bomb. I don't know how in retrospect, I don't know how he thought that was going to come off sounding like a great thing. Because now when you say the Truman bomb, everybody thinks of how dumb you were for dropping it because of how unnecessary it was. Right? But like, if you put Kamala in that situation, we get the same results. That's my point. That is my point. If you put Kamala in that situation, you get the same results. So I want to talk, speaking of Kamala, since we're on this conversation, we're going to have a conversation about DEI. Because I genuinely want to know y'all opinion. This is one of them conversations, guys, that I don't know if everybody's going to agree with me, but it's also one of them conversations that I don't really care if everybody agrees with me on because it needs to be discussed because I don't understand. So y'all seen this? Y'all seen this cover by New York Post? America may soon be subjected to their first DEI president, Kamala Harris. Now, let me see. That wasn't the first place I saw it. First place I saw it was here. So Nina Turner's page. The reason why is because please, God, don't put this motherfucker. I hate FDR. Anybody who knows me knows I hate FDR. Hate him with all my heart and soul. Boy, FDR is if Bernie was president. That's literally what would have been if Bernie was president. While he's selling us out every step of the way and literally responsible for allowing World War II or facilitating World War II, literally responsible for the decimation of an economy or at least a portion of the economy, like what FDR did to Black people. Like he would be getting celebrated the entire time and memorialized as if he saved us. That is literally FDR. Hold on, we're going to find this. I wish I would have saved it, but because Nina brought up her name earlier and then we brought up Kamala, this is what she said. She said, this is racism, by the way. This is what Nina said. Who's that? Mamala? Ugh. This is what Nina said. Nina said, this is racism. Here's the problem with that. No, it's not. And y'all, listen, guys, what did I say about DEI? I feel like DEI as a concept is a dumb idea. Not a dumb idea on its face. It's dumb because we shouldn't need DEI. But the reason why we've had DEI or that it was even a discussion was because dumb white elites were hiring their dumb white elite friends and passing up on people who were qualified for the job. So then you have people who are just hired because of their color, because you are trying to make up for the dumb decisions you already made. But then what made the conversation even stupider is the fact that DEI hires like Candace Owens were some of the first ones, or those who made DEI hires like Charlie Kirk. They're the ones criticizing DEI the most. And I'm like, literally, Candace, bro. Candace, you are the DEI hire of the right. At that time, he's probably the most popular DEI hire that we know. Right? So that's why I like the conversation. Because the people who are having it, they're doing shit like this. I got Charlie Kirk pretending like he's not the king of the DEI hire. He literally hires black people to shit on black people while proclaiming their blackness while doing so in order to legitimize the dumb shit they say about black people. But then we got this problem. This is racism. Is it though? Is it though, Nina? And listen, like I said, guys, I like Nina as a person. As a politician, she's been letting me down. And she let me down because she's going full Democrat. I can't tell you why. I'm not gonna assume her motives, but I can tell you she's wrong. This is not racism. Let's break it down. Do y'all remember why Kamala Harris isn't the president currently? Because of that little debate with Tulsi Gabbard, where Kamala was so thoroughly embarrassed after she was called out by Tulsi that she went from some 90+% of black support, getting damn near all of the fundraising from the main fundraisers for the Democratic Party. She went from all that to 2% black support by the end of the week. And she was forced to drop out of the race before a single vote was tallied. Okay? Fast forward. Joe Biden wins. What is Joe Biden's biggest problem? He is a segregationist. And he's an old white guy who says some dumb old white guy shit on the way to being the Democratic nominee. Oh, also, he's a segregationist. So there's that problem. I don't want my kids to grow up in a racial jungle, et cetera, et cetera. That guy. So what do you do? Because you can't ask Obama to be your vice president, because Lord knows he did everything he could to try and whitewash the white guy, ironically. So you go get Kamala. That's literally what they did. They went and got Kamala, who, by the way, was the woman that all of Hillary Clinton's fundraisers wanted. And they even released an article about how they were fundraising for her in the Hamptons in 2017 because that was their pick. They had been working on Kamala since she was an AG. They put her in the Senate race. Her Senate race was even highly contested. People don't even know that. Her Senate race was highly contested. Like, they didn't really necessarily believe that the outcome was legitimate, but they just let it slide. Okay? She gets the VP. She's extremely unpopular. She only had 2% black support. But the problem was, a lot of people weren't paying. The people that don't pay attention during the primary all of a sudden started paying attention during the general, and all that saw was this black woman. Not realizing this black woman didn't even like talking about her being black until she ran for president. Before, it was about her Southeast Asian heritage. I'm just so proud to be Indian. I'm just so proud of my family and all of our Southeast Asian roots. Like, she always talked about that. She used to invite her aunt to come from India to help campaign for her in California because she was running in San Francisco in the Bay Area for DA. And she needed those votes. And then she was running for AG. She needed those votes. And then running for senator out there. She needed those Asian votes. But running for president is different. Hey, Kamala, can you flip that black switch for us? She never really fixed that switch. She tried to flip it. And really, it's still a little bit jiggly. We don't, like I said, Kamala Harris is probably the only black woman who has to put on political blackface. I've never seen it before in my life, but she tried. And then you subsequently have all these people talking about black woman, congratulating her for being the first, not only the first woman, but the first black woman to be vice president, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what were her qualifications exactly? What was her mandate? Understand, I know that in the case of like Breonna Joy Gray, for example, whenever people were trying to call her DEI Barbie, that was racism. It was also bullshit. Breonna is more qualified to sit in front of this camera and talk politics than 98% of the people who get paid the big bucks to do so. She's far more qualified than Anna Kasparian, for example, far more qualified than Cenk, far more qualified than Ryan Grimm or Piers Morgan even. I mean, she has the combination of like actual written word experience, law degrees. And to get a law degree, I mean, your ability, you should have the ability to use logic and reason at a high level, which she generally does. But in addition to that, she worked for a major political campaign. And she's been accurate in her perception in a lot of what was happening in the moment that they were happening. And she's been, not that I always agree with her, but she's been discerning for the most part. And I'm going to be very clear about something. If Bree was discerning 70% of the time, that still makes her more qualified than 98% of the people in this particular space. Just saying, that's kind of how bad it is. I would give her about 80% though. But they're acting like, Nina's acting like, this isn't Barack Obama, y'all. Barack Obama was a juggernaut. Barack Obama was a phenom. We had never seen anything like that before and will likely never see anything like that again. You get what I'm saying? Barack Obama was not a DEI president. Barack Obama's race almost hurt him until it began to help him. You understand what I'm saying? It almost hurt him until it began to help him. It only became an asset after he overcame it because he was so well-spoken. After he lost the first debate, he was so well prepared for the second debate and the third debate and every debate following. He somehow managed to swoon Hillary Clinton's voters. I mean, it's like Cat Williams said. They said whenever they picked Barack Obama, he said they didn't just pick a black man. They picked the right black man. In other words, they picked somebody who literally knew how to play the part to perfection and was intelligent enough to adjust as he went. And y'all know I hate Barack Obama, but I'm trying to explain to y'all, this ain't Barack Obama we're talking about. If someone were to make that comment about Barack Obama, I would be one of the first people to say, nah, that's crazy. Nope. I don't even like Barack Obama, but that is kind of racist. That's just racist because this man, Barack Obama, was a phenom. He probably shouldn't even have been able to get past the primaries. He wasn't a DEI hire. I mean, he damn near didn't even want to run on being black. He tried to avoid the topic. Kamala won't shut the fuck up about it. Joe Biden openly admitted that he was going to go find a black woman to be the vice president. He said that. And technically speaking, in my opinion, you shouldn't do that as president. Now I'm not saying like at that time, if you would have been like, I'm going to pick Nina Turner because Nina is actually the most qualified at that time, not only because of what you have to do, right? You have to be a people person. You have to, at that point, you have to be able to galvanize your audience, galvanize your crowd. You got to be, I mean, it's a lot involved with being vice president. It's on the campaign trail. And when it comes to international relations and just being willing to engage with people and for those people to perceive you as intelligent. Like she would, at the time, if he would have said Nina, I would have been like, oh, that makes sense. But you wouldn't be picking her because she was a black woman. She just so happened to be a black woman. You picked Kamala Harris because you gave yourself a list of black women and said, this is the black woman I'm going to pick. And it's probably because that's also just so happened to be the black woman that all of Hillary Clinton's donors bet on. So when we talk about the first DEI president, if Kamala were to become that, that is not necessarily racist, guys. It's not racist. Because she was given the job because of what? Like, it's an off-putting joke, I guess, if you want to put it like that. But like, this is why I don't like culture war stuff. This is why I don't like culture war shit, because are we not going to tell the whole story? Like, I just gave y'all know, once again, I hate Obama, but like, y'all acting like she's Obama. What are Kamala Harris's qualifications? And if Donald Trump, let's say the roles were reversed. Let's say if Donald Trump said, I want to put in a white woman. Whoo, better yet. Let's say if Donald Trump wins. What if Donald Trump came out openly and said, I want to put in a white Jewish woman? You want me talking about DEI Barbie on the left, or independents, or people who are anti-Zionists? Because obviously the point of putting in a white Jewish woman at that for Trump would probably be to appease Israel, to appease his Zionist base, to win over those voters. Would people not? People would be like, no. What are her qualifications? Because we won't know. We wouldn't know who it is. But if that was like my starting point, is I'm going to put in a white Jewish woman. Think about that, y'all. How would the world react? I would be like, you lost your damn mind. That's not how it should go. You get what I'm saying? I'm not saying her being white and Jewish should exclude her from consideration. I'm saying the starting point should be qualifications. In the case of Kamala Harris, who wasn't even qualified for the first job she had. If you know, you know. Listen, I'm just going to say, a lot of people, when they take their shit, they don't take it lying down. We can't say the same for Kamala. We can't say the same. She take all that lying down. But from that moment forward in her career, do y'all know the reason why she won DA? Do y'all know about that? I don't even know if y'all know about that. So the DA in San Francisco was actually a really popular guy. The fact that he had an incumbent, or not an incumbent, excuse me, the fact that he had a member of the Democratic Party run against him caught him off guard. Because it wasn't just a member of the Democratic Party, but it was somebody who was moving through the ranks of the Democratic Party elite, because Kamala's sister was very close. Everybody remembers this. Mina Harris is very close to Hillary Clinton. So kind of threw everybody off guard. Do you know why she was put up against that DA in San Francisco? Because that particular DA was in the process of prosecuting pedos at a Catholic church in the area. Did y'all know that? Yeah. Some of y'all San Francisco Bay Area people probably remember. Kamala Harris, in a very, very tight race, comes out of nowhere and beats this DA. Guess what was one of the first decisions she made as DA? She dismissed the charges. That was the first of all, so we want to talk about, I mean, there's so much to open up and unpack there. The fact that she used her Southeast Asian heritage to beat a white DA so that she can let pedophile Christians, or Catholic Christians specifically, off the hook. Because I'm told that it's actually the brown Muslims that are the weirdos, right? I'm told they're the predators. But we have a party, a system, a country that helps a political institution, those powerful members of that, help a religious institution and those powerful members of that religious institution get away with predatory sexual behavior. But Hamas, right? Anyway, so that just like lets you know like what type of person she is and who she works for off rip. But like she just wasn't qualified. She's never really been qualified for her job. The fact that she is where she is has to do with who she is, and more specifically, at the time, who her sister is or was. Mina Harris is one of the top 3 decision makers for Hillary Clinton at one point. It was always going to be Kamala. Her sister's behind the scenes, and Kamala was in front. Eric Huzzo, if Bernie was elected, he would have surrounded himself with Democrats and he would have betrayed us. I mean, let's be real, right? Bernie didn't even get to make it that far before he just surrounded himself with Democrats and betrayed. Oh, man. Do y'all know, man, speaking of Bernie again, I got to show y'all this video, man. Yep, we got to. Like I said, y'all, I hate watching mainstream media sometimes, but if I got to suffer, y'all got to suffer with me. That's just how I look at it because we family. We in this together. What did I say before, guys? My bullshit is your bullshit. So suffer with me.
Morning. You just heard from some Democratic voters in those battleground states. You're a leading voice on the left in this country. Does President Biden now have your full support?
President Biden can clearly defeat Donald Trump as president in the history of this country, and the choice is quite clear. You got in Trump somebody who wants to take away
the most dangerous president in the history of this country. Once again, y'all. Do y'all have to like or dislike Donald Trump to know, like to make that comparison sound, or to realize how ridiculous that comparison sounds? Because I don't like Donald Trump. But who's more dangerous? The guy who said a bunch of mean stuff on Twitter, you know, he drone bombed a lot of people in the same areas that we were in. But I can say that he openly tried to pull the CIA and the military out of Syria until his administration revolted, because at that moment he realized he had no power. And I can say that he didn't fund neo-Nazis, right? He didn't push Russia over the edge. He went along with the sanctions, but he didn't push them over the edge into a war with Ukraine, and it led to generations of Ukrainian men slaughtered. He didn't oversee a genocide. And more than anything, he isn't president while we are literally probably about to start World War III because of the decisions that he made. Like, words have meaning. And if you have to hyperbolize and extrapolate to make your point, it's because on its face, the logic isn't sound, and you have to appeal emotionally. Because if you just made a side-by-side comparison of policies, you're either going to find that there's not much difference with Trump and Biden, or the differences that there are, unfortunately for Biden is worse. Biden is worse. Biden's put more people in cage. I don't know how he's simultaneously pissing off both the left and the right on issues like the border, for example. I call it a crisis. I know people call it a crisis for different reasons. I call it a crisis because somehow, once again, Biden has pissed off both sides. Biden has actually imprisoned more kids, more migrants than Trump did. Oh, but also somehow he's managed to let more people in, which is technically true. But also somehow he's given more money to ICE than Trump did. But also ICE is basically an undercover human trafficking ring, which we also know. He also has sent the National Guard to the border, like to El Paso. I know, I met them. He met them. He sent them there. Like, he somehow managed to piss off everybody on the border issue. I don't even know how that's possible, but he did it. There's not like, if you do side by side comparisons of Trump and Biden, policy, not personality. Personality, Trump will probably win. That's the sad part. But just policy wise, there is no comparison. Joe Biden is fucking horrible. So you can call Trump bad, and we can make an argument that Trump was a bad president. But like I always say, you got to look at Trump. Trump did not do what he promised in most situations regarding Julian Assange, regarding Hillary Clinton. He said he wasn't going to go that hard on Russia, but then participate in the sanctions with Operation Warp Speed. He, as bad as he was, y'all, the elites still decided, yeah, but you are not bad enough or predictable enough for our liking. That is what the globalists decided, despite his numerous failures. That is insanity. So when the globalists decide that we're going to run dementia patient instead, that's who we want to beat Trump. I feel like everybody should probably see red flags. Like, damn, bro, like Trump is too good for y'all. Like he's doing too much for the people, or at least at the bare minimum, he's not doing enough damage for your liking. So y'all are very confident that this guy Biden is about to give y'all everything you want. And that's exactly what he did. And that was a big clue to me. Like, oh man, if the globalists really hate Trump that much, even though he did a lot of what he wanted them to, or what they wanted him to, excuse me, that means Biden's about to come here and fuck the world up. What do we get? Sorry, I just can't stand that hyperbole. Oh, the most dangerous president in the world.
A woman's right to control her body, who thinks that climate change is a hoax and who has turned its back on the working class of this country. And on the other side, you have Joe Biden, first president in American history to walk a picket line. We have put more money into fighting climate change than any time in the history of this country. We're rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. But this
he just said isn't it like a whole bunch of bridges and shit collapsing? I don't know. I'm not an expert on infrastructure in the US, but isn't the opposite happening? Did he say we're spending money on climate change? What does that even mean? We're spending money on climate change? What do you mean? You mean we're stealing a bunch of resources from other country? Like in the Congo, for example, we're stealing a bunch of their resources, trying to overthrow Bolivia, to steal their lithium, installing presidents where we can, so that they're willing to give us resources. What does that even mean? We're giving money to climate change. What the and also, what does that resolve the issues with the environment that or the, I don't know, literal slavery that we're using to mine these minerals? Whatever.
This I do want to say, and where I am critical of the Biden campaign.
Yeah, right.
It's one thing to talk about your record over the last 3.5 years, which is a strong record, but the American people are hurting. 60% of our people live in paycheck to paycheck. 25% of elderly people are trying to get by on $15,000 a year or less. The American people want an agenda for the next 4 years that speaks to the needs of the working class of this country. So frankly, I don't think the president has brought that agenda forward. He has got to say, I am prepared to take on corporate greed, massive income and wealth inequality, and stand with the working class of this country. He does that, he's going to win and win big.
So that's your advice for President Biden. You want him to stand with working voters, talk about labor, talk about the minimum wage and those issues. But politically, can he count on you to be on the campaign trail for him this summer and fall? Can he count on your support?
I've already done 6 events in Wisconsin. We've been to New York. I've been to Ohio. And let me say this, and maybe the most important.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy that he just like, yeah, man, I know Biden's in the middle of a genocide. Also, notice that he didn't mention that. I didn't even get to watch the rest of this. I watched like 3 or 4 minutes of it, but like before I turned it off, I was like, nah, I gotta watch this with my people. So maybe he does. But you campaigning for Genocide Joe? This is what I'm talking about when you were like, oh man, if Bernie was president, he would surround himself with Democrats and betray us. He didn't even make it that far before he did that. He didn't even make it that far before he surrounded himself with Democrats and betrayed the people who gave their hard-earned dollars, quit their damn jobs, gave money that they didn't have to support a campaign that was never really fighting for them. He was fighting for himself, fighting for his own popularity, for his own legacy. And even now, he's screaming ceasefire out one side of his neck, finally, and depending on what crowd he's in front of, right? And then campaigning for Genocide Joe in secret, because I didn't even know he was already at these events. Unless I'm mistaken, that's what he said, right? He already did events for him. Genocide Joe embarrasses himself. What did they do to bring out Bernie? And it actually, in my opinion, makes Joe Biden look worse because they're damn near the same age. And at least Bernie can finish sentences and doesn't think that he's in a fierce war against Medicare for all, or Medicare. we finally beat Medicare. We finally defeated Medicare. That quote is going to go down in infamy.
Point, Bob, I want to make this morning. What we are talking about now is not a Grammy Award contest for Best Singer. Biden is old. He's not as articulate as he once was. I wish he could jump up the steps on Air Force One. He can't. What we have got to focus on is policy. Whose policies have and will benefit the vast majority of the people in this country.
Hold on. Didn't he just go on a whole soliloquy about how Biden's policies have not benefited anybody and how 60% of the country is still living paycheck to paycheck and how he needs to talk to the average American because... And also, just real quick, Bernie, didn't y'all have the fucking House and the Senate? You, the Democrats, Biden, y'all had the ability to resolve these issues. Do you not recall? You don't remember when Bernie had the audacity, the unmitigated gall to say that Biden's policy and the Democrats' policies helped bring like 50% of people out, help lift 50 or 60% of children out of poverty or some bullshit like that because they gave a child tax credit that technically speaking, when you add it to the income of those parents for that 1 year, it puts them over the poverty line. But it's only for that 1 year. It's only with that tax credit. And then you all know, basically the tax credit it goes to paying your debts. If you're one of those people who've had to deal with that before, you know what that money goes to. But he had the audacity to pretend like this was a victory for Biden, like he was actually pulling kids out of poverty. Bro, come on.
Who has the guts to take on corporate America? Who is talking about expanding Medicare so we cover dental, hearing, and vision? Who's talking about raising the cap on the taxes that people pay into Social Security so we can raise Social Security benefits and extend the life of Social Security?
Hell no. I don't even like that. I don't sound a good idea. Don't raise the cap. Who here wants to pay more? Y'all want to pay more into Social Security? First of all, y'all don't even get the full benefits of the Social Security that you pay into right now. And y'all get, bro, who wants to pay? No, how about y'all just let people open up their own bank account and you have it where that I would even be okay with a mandate. And I'm not really a fan of mandates, but whatever. If you want to make sure people have enough money to retire and that the government can't put the little fucking grubby hands in your retirement money, how about you mandate that they open up a bank account within a bank that they're already with, that they trust, and they have that money, especially in the interest-bearing account, it can just be 2-3% interest, and that they save their money over time, and you have to have it come out of your paycheck instead of the government fucking managing it. Why would we want to raise the cap of how much money you can take out of my paycheck to give to Social Security? Y'all show that you would steal the fucking money. That's not a good idea. I don't even know why you would think that's a good idea. Why would you tell that to people? That's just, sorry, y'all. That was a random rant, but Jesus Christ. They don't even know what is and is not a good idea anymore.
For 75 years, who's talking about a permanent child tax credit to cut childhood poverty in America by 50%? Those are the issues he's talked about. He's got to bring them up in the fore. He's got to promise the American people that if they give him a Democratic Senate, a Democratic House, reelect him, he's going to do that in the first 100 days. That is what I think the American people want.
No doubt, Senator, this campaign about the issues, about how policy affects people. It's also about how people see the stakes. Let's listen to what President Biden had to say on Friday about what happens if former President Trump wins the election.
It's going to be funny, I'm sure.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the greatest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about.
What the fuck? What did he just say, y'all? What did he just say? What did he? No. Ain't no way. What the? There's no way.
How people see the stakes. Let's listen to what President Biden had to say on Friday about what happens if former President Trump wins the election.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the greatest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about.
He said, as long as I give it my all, I just better get that. Bishop, and that's what this is about. That's what he said, y'all. That is what he said. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but I have no choice. Because what the hell? What the fuck? Oh, this is so embarrassing. This is so embarrassing. This is so embarrassing as a country, guys. Y'all not embarrassed with me? I mean, I don't even live in the U.S. anymore, but like, I got people know I'm American. I gotta be the guy that walks outside in a foreign country. Everybody like, you're American. That's our president. Look at that. That guy. Biden's his president. He just lives here.
You just heard that, Senator Sanders. How would you feel if former President Trump wins in November?
Well, I would feel awful if somebody.
Hold up. No. We don't go do this. They didn't skip a part of the fucking video, did they? Did he just say, you heard it? Like, you heard it. How are you going to feel if Trump wins? Hold up. No. Don't you want to ask what he said? I guarantee you ask Bernie to repeat exactly word for word what Joe Biden said in that video. He going to be like, listen, it's not important. They already said that he can't articulate his words that well. It's not important what he says. It's important what he does, which is damn near cause World War III with his policies. But he just skipped over that. You ever argue with somebody and you argue like a motherfucker, then you they ask you a question, you answer it, and you make a great point, and they just act like they didn't hear it and just continue like arguing with you, but you already want to argue because like, well, you're just not going to address that, and they just get louder and continue like that didn't happen. What the hell did we just witness, y'all? Because that just happened. Did he just really pretend like we just?
This job as I know I can do. That's what this is about.
You just heard that, Senator Sanders. How would you feel if former President Trump wins in November?
He couldn't even say what Biden said. He said, you just heard that. Boy, that was the most general, ambiguous, opaque that I have ever heard. You just heard that, right? What? I don't know. Shit. But you heard it, though. He said some words. His mouth moved, barely, but you heard it.
Well, I would feel awful if somebody was opposed virtually all of Trump's policies. And I would feel awful if the American people lost the democracy, which we've had for 250 years. And I would.
Bernie Sanders would feel awful if America lost its democracy. Didn't you have the election stolen from your ass twice in a row? The bare minimum, you had it stolen under Hillary. They admitted it. Remember, they fired a bunch of people because of it. You and Eric Perez went on a whole little tour together because it was stolen from you. And then they admitted in court that they actually don't even have to do what the voters want. They don't have to select any candidate that the voters vote for. Remember, Bruce Spiva, DNC for all lawsuit. Debbie Wasserman Schultz fired. WikiLeaks. Y'all, you don't remember that, Bernie? And then, I mean, I know you wouldn't care about this part, but the subsequent Russiagate story that y'all tried to use to get Trump out because they didn't like him, right? It's never the things that he did that actually deserved impeachment. It's always bullshit, right? It was a conversation with Zelensky that never really amounted to anything, but they tried to impeach him for that too. It's always everything else, but never that. But that was an attempt to usurp democracy. I mean, who knows? We probably wouldn't even have gotten Trump if Hillary would have just not cheated. We don't have a democracy. And the audacity of you, of all people, to pretend that we have a democracy. You know, back when we started the DNC for All lawsuit, there was a radio show host that asked Bernie Sanders how he felt about it. Do you know what he said? I don't want to focus on the past. I want to focus on the future. Well, you should want to focus on the past when the past is indicative of the lack of democracy that you are relying on and that you are now trying to pretend we have, Bernie. And I remember I was livid whenever he had the audacity. He said, I don't want to focus on the past. That's your fucking problem. You never want to focus on the past. You never want to acknowledge what Democrats have done. You never wanted to acknowledge that Joe Biden has been a fucking segregationist for 40 years, that he's been one of the most corrupt politicians for 40 years. You don't want to focus on the fact that he was forced to drop out of one race because he was forced to plagiarize. Talking about he's not as articulate as he once was. Boy, he plagiarized the whole speech and it had to drop out. People forget that Joe Biden has ran for president other times and was either so unpopular he had to drop out or was forced to drop out because of dumb shit he did. You forgot about the crime bill, Bernie? Come on, bro. Democracy. Now it's a threat. It's a threat to democracy.
Would feel awful if we turned our back on the existential threat of climate change. But this is not about how I feel. It's not about you feel. It is not even about how Joe Biden feels. It's about how we win this election. And maybe
what? Well, you know what? At least he said the quiet part out loud. It's not about how we feel about anything that Biden does, about his mental health. It's not about how the media feels, not how Bernie feels. It's not about how we feel, guys. It's about Democrats winning.
What we should be doing is creating a Democratic Party with Biden at the top that stands with the working class of this country. I will tell you this, whether you're Republican...
Mr. Independent, everybody. Mr. Independent. It's about building a Democratic Party with Biden at the top. Mr. Independent. You know, he had the audacity to congratulate Jeremy Corbyn the other day because Jeremy Corbyn won his election within what would be considered an independent party in the UK. Talking about, yeah, it's important, but shut the fuck. You are a Democrat with an independent label. You a D. You just got an I. You a D with pretending to be an I. That's it. That's it.
Republican, Democrat, or independent. The American people are disillusioned. They are angry. They think that government is busy paying attention to the rich and wealthy campaign donors. And by the way, I find it personally insulting that the New York Times and all these media organizations go out front page and this is what the billionaire campaign donors feel. Well, the hell with the billionaire campaign donors.
The hell with the billionaire campaign donors. The hell with them. What you mean? You want to say in the hell with them when they was writing on your legislation for the first 2 years y'all had the House and the Senate? You was passing that legislation. You was signing off on it. Remember, you had the power to do something, to at least speak out and challenge. You want to say in the hell with them then? You want to say in the hell with them when you endorsed Biden the first time around, was you? But now it's the hell with them. Oh, that's just crazy how things change up, huh?
Let's worry about the working class of this country and what their needs are. And let hopefully,
is he President Biden talking to you?
That speaks to their needs, he will win.
We know is the president talking to you? You're traveling the country talking to working voters. I've seen all the video of you meeting with union members. Has he spoken?
5 minutes in, have we heard anything about genocide? Have we heard anything about Israel? 5 minutes in, has Bernie mentioned genocide, Israel? Hell, has he mentioned Ukraine? Has he mentioned NATO or the fact that Biden is bragging about expanding it? Has he mentioned Syria? Okay.
To you in recent days, and is the White House listening to your advice at all? The campaign?
Yes, he has spoken to me in recent days, and I hope to be meeting on a regular basis with the White House to hammer out an agenda that speaks to the needs of the vast majority of the people who believe that both parties have turned their backs on them. Right now, we have more income and wealth inequality than we've ever had in the history of this country. The billionaire class has never done better.
And yet you want to vote for the same motherfucker again. That's just the logic, bro. Like, you contradicted yourself. It's a 7-minute interview. How you contradict your own logic 10 times in a 7-minute interview?
Hey, how about standing up for the working class of this country for a change? If Biden does that, he's going to win. He will win big.
Bernie, you said that you were taking this position in the Democratic Party within the Senate because you were going to push Biden left. You urged your supporters, who a lot of them otherwise wouldn't have even voted for Biden, but you have so many blind loyalists. They were like, fine, Bernie, whatever. We'll give him a chance. If you say you're going to push him left, we trust you, because there were a lot of people who hadn't yet woken up to Bernie at the time. You said, if we give you the House, we give you the Senate and the executive branch, then y'all going to handle y'all business. All the stuff that you're saying you wanted to do, Bernie, that you want him to do, that you think Biden will do, that you want him to say he will do. Bernie, you already said all this the first time. You said he would do this the first time. He said he would do this the first time. And you just gave us a litany of issues that America is suffering from because of Biden's policies. You can't blame it on the Republicans, right? You can't blame the genocide on Trump. We can't blame it. We can't blame the Russian-Ukraine war on Trump. We can't necessarily blame the entirety of the economy on Trump. We can blame it on him in some instances, but Biden has had more than enough time to recover from the pandemic. Could have given stimulus to the average people, but instead he refused. Remember, he actually lied. He said if y'all get that senator elected in Georgia, then y'all would send out more stimulus packages. And when he lied to everybody's fucking face, you didn't even hold him accountable. And now you want us to do something that is tantamount to self-destruction, which is you want us to put him back in power when he will now have absolutely no reason to be accountable to the voters who voted for him. Because the one thing about this two-term situation that the United States has, which is actually once again, I always tell people, it's actually pretty unique. Not a lot of countries have term limits, not a lot of the bigger ones. And not the successful ones anyway. The problem with the 2 term is that the second term, I can do what I want and it don't even matter. Because you voted me in, I'm going to have to leave anyway, so I can just do what my donors tell me to do. You want us to give that man all of the power and none of the accountability. And then you want us to give the Dems, who cheated to get him back into power, right? They keep talking about this primary process. We can't overturn the will of the voters. What will and what voters? The voters didn't have anybody to vote for. Literally. I remember on The View, one time Anna Navarro said, there's not a Democratic primary. What are you talking about? There's like no candidates. There's not any. At this time, RFK Jr. and Marianne Williamson at the bare minimum were running. But at least those two. Names that they should have at least known, considering that Kennedy is a Kennedy, and they did not like him. And Marianne Williamson had previously ran the Democratic primary. So it's not like these are people that they weren't familiar with. They just were literally lying and said there wasn't a primary. And now to defend Joe Biden remaining as the nominee, they're like, well, we had a primary process and the voters already spoke. Boy, I can't stand this. You know what, though? I'm glad, because I'm glad Bernie is exposing himself. Bernie's exposing himself to the people that still had a shred of belief in him. He's exposing himself as a fucking coward, as a fraud, as a snake. Bernie, the one thing that I will give him credit for is I appreciate him removing the naivete that I had been suffering from. I had a lot of faith in the U.S. political system. Not a lot of faith, but a reasonable amount. I'm like, if we overwhelm it behind a candidate that actually is trustworthy for the most part, we can fix this broken system. Bernie taught me two important lessons. Can never fully trust any politician. And the political system is so broken that if you actually have a politician where you think you can trust and they win office, they will flip. Because that political system is so broken, so corrupt, that they give you no choice. They give you no choice. You either flip or they flip you. And that can look like a number of things. I'm not going to go into details about it, but we all know what happened with Thomas Massey's wife. He goes on a rant about AIPAC on Tucker Carlson in front of the whole world, and then sudden. It's always sudden, right? But it's super weird that everybody can make Joe Biden's points, right? Can make an argument for Joe Biden. Even people his age can make an argument for Joe Biden, except for Joe Biden. And yet they still expect all of us to vote for him. You can make a lot of criticisms about Trump, but at least he can argue for himself. Y'all terrified to let Joe Biden speak for himself because he can't. And then every time he talks in front of a camera, it is a reminder like, oh shit, we got the brand ambassador for Hoveround as the president of the United States, as a Democratic Party nominee. And Bernie is saying, oh, who cares about what the billionaires want? First of all, that's the dumbest argument you can make for Biden, because that's the only reason that he became president. It's the only reason he has as much power as he has. But Bernie, since you're basically an honorary member of the Democratic Party, you can't be like, who cares about what the billionaires want? You care about what the billionaires want. The party that you work for, they care about what the billionaires want. And that is why you have all of a sudden so many of these liberal media conglomerates and journalists and pundits and talking heads willing to go after Biden. Because you can act like y'all don't give a shit about what the billionaires want, but they do, because the billionaires pay their bills. And I'm not going. And now you like, who cares about what the billionaires want? Oh, so now you want us to ignore the billionaires. When the billionaires are telling us to vote for Biden, you wanted us to listen to the billionaires because you was endorsing them. But now the billionaires is like, nah, we got to trade them out. Well, who cares what the billionaires want? No. You can't change it. No, you said that. You wanted us to vote for him. You wanted us to care before. Don't switch it up now. Well, I would say they got Bernie by the balls, but you can't have no balls the way they be dragging this motherfucker. The Democratic Party be dragging Bernie around. You can't have balls. You ain't got none. Let's go to these super chats. Make sure y'all like and share, man. Like and share, like and share, like and share. Subscribe if you just got here. Sparky, thank you very much for the super chat. After JFK was killed, Truman wrote an op-ed against the CIA. So maybe as he looked back on his presidency, he realized that he'd been played for a fool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, probably. It probably became obvious when he realized, like, damn, the Duluses wouldn't have any power if I didn't put them in power. The CIA wouldn't have been a thing if I didn't make them a thing. Like, all the problems of the world, damn near domestically and internationally, persisted because of the dumbass decisions Truman made. And there had to be some realization with hindsight where Truman thought, hold up, was I only put in power because I was an idiot? And that's why because y'all know, like, at that convention, he wasn't even like a top 3 pick for VP. He was like the worst last option. And they were like, yep, let's pick him. Yep, that's what happened. Despite being an open and unapologetic racist, Truman integrated the armed forces, something which was begun by Teddy Roosevelt and Taft, but was reversed by your boy Woodrow Wilson. I mean, integrating the armed forces does make sense. I mean, don't you want your black and whites to fight for the empire together? Kind of makes sense. They want women to be part of the draft now. So I promise you it ain't because of feminism. That's an interesting tidbit. And it also makes sense considering, once again, Truman, from that point forward, went to work on all of not all of it, but a lot of East Asia and Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Obama opened things up with Cuba. So like Truman, he did at least one good thing. Too bad Trump turned that back. Yeah, that was weird. I don't know why Trump turned back. Like, I don't know why Trump did that. That was just dumb. Somebody told him to do it. That's why. Because that's why Trump did a lot of stuff that he did. Whenever Trump was like on the verge of doing something good, he reversed it.
Senator Warner of Virginia is collecting colleagues.
Right. So that's why I always get pissed off at some, like, I got a lot of friends who believe in Trump. They at least believe in him more than they believe in Biden. But I always tell them, like, yo, y'all got to stop putting y'all faith in this man, because he does not have control, and it almost makes him a little bit more problematic in some aspects, because he can do something like assassinate Soleimani and then convince y'all it's a good idea because y'all like him so much. Even though what really happened was John Bolton and the boys and the crew, Mike Pompeo, they made that decision. He woke up and found out about it and then had to pretend as if it was his decision, because his ego will not allow anyone, because his brand is based off of what? Being the boss. So his ego and his brand will not allow him to come out and just admit, that was not my idea. That was just not my idea. They did it without me. I don't know why they did it without me. And you know how much respect I would have for Trump if he would have said that? Like when he called out Bolton and said what Bolton was trying to replicate in Iran was the Libya model, and that was part of the reason why he fired him and why he never listened to him regarding Iran and trying to start. Like, I have respect for him for saying that, because that is you admitting, like, yo, this man was trying to take control out of my hands as the commander in chief, and he was doing so in a way that would have ended in disaster. I respect that. I do not respect when you sit up there and try to pretend like Soleimani is a terrorist when he's literally known as a guy who kills terrorists. Very proficiently so. Sparky, Kamala could take the chrome off a trailer hitch. That helped her career too. Oh my God. Oh my God. If you don't get it, I'm not going to explain it to you. Y'all are adults. Figure it out. But that is also, if you want to keep a relationship, if you want to keep a toxic relationship going, guys, that is the way to do it. Oh, the chrome opportunity. That's wild. That is some nasty business. Eric, so, that is what is called Bernie barf. Yep. And yet Bernie's barf is still more coherent than the speech from Biden. John Freeze. Do you think the Dems will invoke the 25th Amendment? Hold on, which one's the 25th Amendment? You gotta forgive me. Let me check that out real quick. I think I know, but I don't want to say for certain until I know for a fact. 25th Amendment to the United States the 25th Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified February 10th, 1967. It clarifies the process of presidential succession and disability, ensuring smooth transfer of power in the event of a vacancy in the office of the presidency. The key provisions, but in the event of a vacancy in the office of the presidency, the vice president should assume. Oh, is that what you think might happen? You think that they might just put Kamala there? You think is that what you think? I mean, that's the Democrats. So yeah, that's something I can definitely see. You think that what they're going to try to do is get Joe Biden to win? You know what's crazy? I feel like I've had this conversation before. Y'all can probably remember better than me, but they're probably going to get Joe Biden to win. They're trying to, right? That is some people's idea, but the problem is that he probably won't win. But they're probably trying to galvanize behind Joe Biden to get him to win, so that Kamala can then take his place. The thing is, because Kamala did not run for office, but instead assumed office, that would technically not count as a full term. So she would actually be allowed to run again and then be allowed to run again. Because she wouldn't be finishing up Kamala's term if she assumed office. She would be fulfilling the Biden administration's term. So I think that is why John Freeze asked that question. And you know, John, that's a damn good question. I hadn't even thought about that. I thought about something like that, but not them specifically invoking the 25th Amendment to do it. I thought it would be like Biden stepping down or something to that extent. Because I've never bought the lie that Biden and the Democrats try to sell people, which is that he would only run for one term. Because that just leaves it. We all knew that would leave the door wide open once again for Trump to win. And there's not really anyone that they can galvanize behind that is more popular than Trump, even Biden himself. But that's a damn good, you know what? That's a possible reality, but I don't see it. If the convention goes how Biden wants it to go, I can see it happening. I could see it happening, but maybe not in the first year, maybe about 2 years in, where Kamala is officially handling things, but not really anybody, but you know what I'm saying? Like officially doing the communique and making trips on behalf of the administration. And then, so they train her up to be presidential and then do the switcheroo. I could see that happening. That's a damn good question. And it's a very real possibility. But you know what? The Democrats are less predictable right now. And it's not because they're smarter, right? It's not because they're hiding their intentions better. It's because they are in a civil war right now. The Democrats are in an all-out civil war. And I don't remember the last time we've seen something like this. Because it's not like when populist leftists were members of the Democratic Party at one point, like during the Bernie campaign, and it was a war between leftists and neoliberals. This is a war between neoliberals and neoliberals. This is completely different. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime, and I'm very interested to know how it's going to turn out. You know, how they're going to pick the next puppet. Eric Husseau, raising the cap, I'm assuming on Social Security, increasing cutoff where they don't tax. It makes rich people pay more, not you. Yeah, but I don't necessarily, but here's my thing though. I don't think that that's fair. So like, first of all, rich people got accountants, so they're not going to pay more. So there's that. Like it would make probably the upper middle class pay more. Because like we know that sounds good in practice, but we all know whenever they make rules for rich people, it just hurts the people trying to become rich. It very rarely hurts the actual rich people because of creative accounting. So there's that. But I don't believe, especially because so rich people most likely and more than likely are not relying as much on Social Security. And like I said, I believe that Social Security should in large part be the burden of those who are paying into it. And I do 100% believe that the government should have no way whatsoever of dipping into it. I don't want them to touch Social Security. Reagan already robbed us once. That's probably why there's not enough, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, there should be enough to pay out, but there's not. Why? Because you got the combination of getting robbed there, and then the people who are getting paid Social Security proportionally compared to what they put in, they're not really getting enough, right? They're not really getting enough. And then there are the rich people who there shouldn't be. I don't believe if back in the day, if there was going to be Social Security, I do believe that there shouldn't have been a quote unquote cap, because everybody else has to pay their percentage, so there shouldn't be a cap on how much you have to pay. If you're getting getting a W-2, if you will, right? If you're an employee. However, knowing what we know now, I don't believe that should be the government's responsibility. I believe that they can help facilitate it. Like, they should be able to help you plan for Social Security. But like, we just witnessed the pandemic, people. We've been paying taxes so that we can have social security nets, right? So that in a situation where they force everyone to stop working. I have to say force multiple times because people seem to forget that part of it. They forced everyone to stop working and then made us beg them for our money that we give them to protect us in situations such as those. I don't want them to have more of it. You understand what I'm saying? I appreciate the clarification though, but I don't necessarily think that it's like opening up that cap isn't going to do anything. I don't want the government to have more money. They just keep giving it to Boeing. They just keep giving it to Lockheed Martin. They just keep, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just keep giving it to the pharmaceutical industry to fucking poison us. They just keep giving it to people like Musk. I don't want them to have more. I want them to spend the money that they already take from us in a way that will actually help us in, like, in a way that is actually beneficial rather than nominal. New take by mainstream media. Biden is just really religious and he's speaking in tongues. Oh my God. Hell, even to speak in tongues, you got to be able to move your mouth. Biden he's not even moving his mouth. He can't even do that. He's having trouble gathering strength to move his mouth. They take Biden out, saying he has dementia. Yeah, with the 25th Amendment. Yeah. And the news that just broke out, which is that Biden had a neurologist coming to the White House from Walter Reed to speak to his doctors in January. It was a Parkinson's disease specialist. And they just didn't tell anybody. So it's like, that's already a problem, in my opinion. I know there's like HIPAA, but like, if you are worried that the president has Parkinson's disease, bro, y'all knew that this was a possibility in January, and y'all didn't think, hey man, maybe we should not cheat the primary. Maybe we should let Americans select who's going to represent this party. It might be a little bit too late to rig it for somebody else, but maybe we should do things the right way because maybe he don't make it. And look, he's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. No, he ain't going to make it. Sparky, Trump didn't care one way or the other about Cuba, but whomever he last spoke with was against open relations with Cuba. Too bad. Trump hangs around the wrong people. That's a very good way to put it. I agree. Democrats were fragmented with internal battles from 1968 until Bill Clinton in 1992. Yep, that is very true. That's basically from 1968 to the point where they created the Democratic Leadership Council. Jimmy Carter in 1976 was an exception because of Watergate. Yep, that's true. That's very true. They were fragmented. The Democrats were getting their asses handed to them over and over and over again until they created that Democratic Leadership Council, which effectively meant, hey, man, let's be more conservative than conservatives, but pitch it as being liberal. Also, let's have Bill Clinton play the saxophone in front of black people. That'll get them to think that we're actually liberal. I did want to show y'all really quick just how bad it is for Biden. And the reason why, like, y'all know, usually I actually don't like mainstream media clips. Y'all know that. And I have various reasons for that. But the reason that I found them interesting, and not only mainstream media clips, but specifically the way that they're talking about the polls. The reason I find them interesting is because of the flip. It's because I remember how they covered, for example, the election during 2016, Hillary Clinton and Bernie. I remember that. And we remember how they talked about the polls. I remember how they covered 2020, 2019 primary and general election. It was nobody likes Trump, really. Trump doesn't have a chance. Republicans suck, But what's been interesting to me is actually, guys, so it turns out Biden is horrible. No one likes him. And y'all better do something about it right now. And the truth is, Hillary's unlikability was bad. And we knew that. And they sold us the lie anyway. We knew Biden, which, once again, debatable that he actually won, but he won. But we knew back then he was bad. He lost already multiple times. I don't know how much more evidence you need at that point. But the polls were always, at least from the liberal media, they were always showing that no matter how bad he might be, they liked that people, generally speaking, liked him more than Trump. That's not what they're saying anymore. And it's the manner in which they speak that got me like, damn, they really don't want him as their nominee anymore. And this is one of those examples.
I just want to point out where the polls are now, where they were at this point back in 2020, and Joe Biden's worst position in the polls back in 2020. Right now, Donald Trump leads in an aggregate of national polls by about 3 percentage points. If you go back 4 years ago at this point, Joe Biden was ahead by 9 points. This right now don't look anything like what we saw 4 years ago at this point. I then decided to take it a step further. What was Biden's worst 2020 polling position? He was ahead by 4 points, which basically matched what he ended up beating Donald Trump by in the national popular vote. So this 3-point advantage for Donald Trump is Donald Trump's best position versus Joe Biden, whether you include the polls this year or you include the polls last cycle. The idea that the polls underestimated Joe Biden last time around, simply put, does not hold any water, Mr. Berman.
Not in the general elections.
So he's making an argument, or rather clarifying, that people are saying, oh, they said this about Joe Biden the last time. And this is an aggregate of polls. In other words, this is an average. He's averaging all the polls. And what he's saying is anyone who's pretending like the polls were not favorable or they underestimated Biden last time and Biden still managed to win, they're lying to you. That's what he's saying. He's saying he said where they, on average, where they said he was, that's where he finished.
Certainly. What about in terms of being underestimated in the Trump era in general?
Yeah. So I decided to expand upon our search. Who outperformed their July national poll?
But this man never gonna be able to get a job again after this. He don't have a job, but this man is famous in the Democratic Party and it's cool now, but he don't know the wrath that will come after him once they realize, oh man, we can't even trust you for the. Yeah, I know you. Like, he the King Slayer. Like, in House of Dragons, Game of Thrones, whenever like they needed somebody to kill the Mad King, and then Jaime doesn't, and then everybody's like, "You're the King Slayer." It's like, hold up, but that's what y'all said he was crazy. Y'all needed me to do this. Yeah, but you're still the King Slayer, bro. Like, you know how the rules go. You know the social contract. We got to talk shit anyway. Somebody got to take the blame.
Polls This is major elections during the Trump era. We can start in the midterms, right? Take a look here. This is a 2022 midterm. This is a generic congressional ballot. In fact, Republicans were underestimated by a point. They outperformed their July polls and the actual result by a percentage point. You go back to 2018, Democrats did outperform their polls, but just by a point. Basically, the polls were right on at this particular point in the midterm elections. We talk about the presidential race. Last time around, Donald Trump actually did better in the results than his July polls.
Do you understand what he's saying right now? He is saying that even though so last time Trump was behind 3 points, they said he outperformed himself by 5 points, but he lost to Joe Biden. Okay? But he outperformed himself. Okay. So this time he is already ahead of Joe Biden. Do you catch my drift, people?
By 5 points, you go back to 2016, you see something very similar. That is, the July polls actually underestimated Donald Trump. He outperformed his July polls. So the idea in the Trump era that the polls have underestimated Democrats, whether it be in a Joe Biden matchup, whether it be a matchup against Hillary Clinton, whether it be in the midterms, at least in the national polling that right now shows Donald Trump in his strongest position, simply put, is not true. If
you heard it here on CNN. On CNN, they said that if you are pushing that, if you're claiming that polling has if you're claiming that polling has always underestimated Democrat success, and that is why we should continue to fight for Biden as if he actually has a chance to beat Trump, you are full of shit. That is not reality. This is a liberal on a liberal network telling y'all this. And he is also telling y'all that Trump in 2016 and in 2020 outperformed where he is at right now. 3 points in 2016 and 5 points in 2020, which is crazy. Because that's when he was supposedly the most hated. Biden is actually in the worst polling position in history as of July. I cannot believe that they are going through such detail to explain to people how much of a dumb decision it is to make Joe Biden the nominee for the Democratic Party. I am in awe, honestly. I am genuinely in awe. Because, Democrats usually ride with their candidate until they die, even though they know how horrible that candidate is. Like I've said the other day whenever I was on here with Nick from from RBN. Joanne Reed hated Hillary Clinton, but wrote out for Hillary Clinton because that's what their job is. And they just said, we can't do this anymore, dog. They said the billionaires are abandoning Biden. There's a reason for that.
anything, the polls have underestimated Republicans during the Trump era, especially in the presidential races in 2016 and in 2020.
Well, on that front, I mean, how unusual is it for a Republican to be ahead by this much right now?
Yeah. So let's go all the way back. Who led in early July polls? Well, right now, Donald Trump is ahead. Go back in 2020, a Democrat, Biden. 2016, Hillary Clinton, a Democrat. 2008, 2012, a Democrat. Even in 2004, where George W. Bush ended up winning, John Kerry was actually ahead in the polls at this point. You have to go all the way back to 2000, to George W. Bush being ahead in the early July polls. You have to go all the way back to the end of the 20th century, beginning of the 21st century, to find a Republican ahead at this point. 24 years. At this particular point, the idea that a Democrat is ahead, there are voters in the electorate who are dealing with a poll position they have never seen before, and that is a...
Damn, bro. Marco Rubio's brother is spitting. That's crazy. It's also kind of weird. Well, no, it's actually, that kind of makes... John Kerry's situation makes sense because Bush was unpopular because of the wars and the economy. And then Kerry was as interesting as a jar of peanut butter. But if the jar of peanut butter actually didn't exist, and you were just staring at nothing. That's Kerry's personality. Obama won. Clinton lost. but it was to Trump. So you got to remember that. And then Biden won, but that's right. But this is a crazy stat. Like the last time a Republican was ahead at this point, basically, I mean, it's Bush, and that's like one of the elites of the elites. He was riding off of his daddy, and the fact that Al Gore wasn't. I mean, people had their feelings about Al Gore, but and people argue that Al Gore actually won, which there is an argument to be made for that. But my point is the fact that basically, I mean, at this point with Trump and with Bush, every time a Republican was ahead at this point, they've won. That's my point. Now, there's only 2 instances of that. But the other problem is, even whenever there's times where they weren't ahead, like with Kerry, like with Clinton, there are times where they weren't ahead and the Republicans still won. And they're telling you that in the Trump era, the polls have actually underestimated every single one of the Republicans' finishes thus far. And specifically regarding Trump. And they thought it was a good idea to run Dementia Joe, to run Genocide Joe. Are you kidding me? And the fact that it's CNN, it isn't just CNN, but you got CNN breaking this down like this. Like, hey, man, not only are we going to tell you why Joe is such a horrible candidate to run, but we're going to give you total and complete context. CNN don't ever give us context on shit. They never give us context. Not honest context. And they're so desperate to convince the Democratic Party to replace Joe Biden right now that they're even giving context on why they should get rid of Joe. The Democratic Party is in shambles, and I, for one, am extremely pleased. I am extremely pleased. I don't lie to you guys. It makes me happy. It does. It does. It doesn't. Listen, guys, I watched the DNC fraud lawsuit. I mean, go through hell. Everybody involved in it went through hell and back. Just for them to wait until it got to Clarence Thomas. No, excuse me. They waited until Joe Biden won the nomination. Then all of a sudden, the lawsuit, when it goes to the Supreme Court, appears in front of Clarence Thomas, the one Republican we obviously did not want to determine whether or not the lawsuit would be heard in front of the Supreme Court. And he's like, yep, nope, send it back. Of course he did. Clarence Thomas owes his job to Joe Biden. But my disdain for the Democratic Party is unique. I will give you that. In that sense, I do have some bias. Seeing them at war with each other for once in my lifetime brings joy to my heart. It makes me smile a bit because y'all caused so much drama, so much turmoil, so much calamity in the lives of independent populists and independent leftists, and really just the average American voter in general. Y'all have stolen and rigged and stolen and rigged. And y'all know me, I'm a firm believer in karma. I'm a firm believer. The universe may take its time, but it's always on time. And when that karma comes, it is going to be it's usually ironic and it is usually hilarious. And it is ironic that right now they cheated in the Hillary Clinton to get Hillary Clinton elected. They cheated to get Biden elected. To get him past the primary the first time. We're not even going to go into all that. But anybody who was there, you know what time it is. You cheated to get Biden through the primary this time. And now you want to use the claim that the voters gave Biden some type of mandate that they never had a chance to give him because y'all didn't even open the primary up. You have to probably replace him. But to do that, you have to piss off the old guard and the guy who's actually in power right now. Because you got to think about it. People were putting their careers on the line. To get Biden out, if you were openly condemning Biden, it ain't really Biden you got to worry about his wife, probably Jill, who's really running the show. You got to worry about her if they win. People are putting their careers on the line to come out against Biden, guys. And so you either get a loser, you get a dumbass that's not going to make it through the 4 years, which I don't see happening. I don't think he wins if he stays in. But you get that guy, and you get retaliation from the party elite, or you have the party elite going at each other's necks, so they never actually get unified enough to beat the Republicans or Trump. Right? Which is that's the path they look like they're on. You claim that this is a fight for our democracy, but the irony is you completely undercut our democracy for us to get to this point. And now you're suffering the consequences of your actions. It just makes me smile. And don't worry, Republicans gonna get theirs too. Everybody gonna get theirs eventually. But me personally, I just have a special relationship with my disdain for the Democratic Party. So y'all forgive me if I smile a bit watching them collapse right in front of us. Sparky, Hillary could have won with a nationwide pub crawl themed campaign. She was most comfortable interacting with people in a tavern environment, likely stemming from her Midwestern winter background. Oh, that's actually probably true. As long as those people that she was talking to were rich, because she just did not like being around poor people. It feels like Niko time travel from 2019. Shit, try 2016. Try 2016, cuz. It's all scripted. You know what? Some stuff is scripted. But you're also giving people too much credit. Like, you have to understand that there's a mixture of corruption and incompetence. It's usually a combination of both. It is usually almost always a combination of both. So for me to believe that everything is scripted. So when Niger overthrew their government, that was part of the script. And they got their government back. Whenever they overthrew Evo Morales and the United States overthrew Evo Morales, and then had everything that they wanted in Bolivia, but then they forgot, oh shit, they actually have a legitimate election system and they can vote for who they want again. And then the Bolivian government voted back in who they wanted. That was scripted. You get my point? There are some things that are scripted. And there are some things where they try to script it and they're just not that smart. This is one of those situations which I've said over and over and over and over again. When it comes to Biden, there is a uniqueness that people do not understand. And it's not, because they are stupid and don't understand politics, but there is a very specific aspect in which they either don't understand or they're not educated on. It is the necessity for the Democratic Party to maintain a member of the DLC in power. Every Democratic Party ticket since Bill Clinton, since the DLC was created, and even after it was dismantled, every single Democratic Party ticket has had a member of the DLC, the Democratic Leadership Council. Because that is how the Democratic Party maintains its power, shields themselves from the accountability for their corruption and for the crimes they commit, not only domestically, but around the world. They've always, whether it's Bill Clinton, whether it's Al Gore, whether it's Joe Biden with Obama, Hillary Clinton herself, or Joe Biden again. The members of the Democratic Leadership Council have determined the direction of the Democratic Party and damn near the direction of the world in a lot of ways for a very, very long time since it was created. But on the other side of the coin, it's protected and shielded everyone who's participated in that corruption. There is nobody left. Hillary Clinton was really supposed to win. She would have probably been the last one. But she is embarrassing. She is an embarrassment to everybody who knows her. So they threw in Joe Biden at the last minute, especially because what also happened, the reason why they went so hard on that impeachment and they accused Trump at that moment of what Biden was guilty of, the reason they went so hard on that impeachment out of nowhere was because the prosecutor in Ukraine was about to start prosecuting everyone involved in Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and the Obama administration's dealings in Ukraine. So they immediately do what they always do. Every accusation is a confession. Democrats love to project, et cetera, et cetera. Joe Biden had to jump in so they could say what? Oh, if Trump says that Biden is guilty of anything involving Ukraine, it's only because he's attacking his political opponent. If he says anything about Hunter Biden dealing with Burisma, it's only because he's attacking his political opponent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the Democrats have been trying to play. Hillary was supposed to be like the final solution of neoliberal politics in a lot of ways. Her administration, in my opinion, was going to mix neocons and neoliberals from both of the parties, from the duopoly, in a way that we probably had not seen ever. It was going to be a fast track to World War III. That was the script. I mean, we know because thank God we got WikiLeaks, or we had it anyway. What we have now is chaos. What we have now is insanity. What we have now is a party that has lost control of itself. I can't even believe that Bernie came out and endorsed Biden. That was kind of weird. I'm like, you don't want to wait a little bit, bro? But I'm guessing because they don't have another candidate, that's why he's okay with it. But the fact that you have all the pundits, I posted a screenshot that's under Nick's, because Nick was talking about like they want Trump to win, and I agree. I believe that the liberal media, they need Trump now because if you already know nobody likes Biden, nobody's going to be watching you while you try to pretend like this man isn't as horrible as he is. We don't have to guess that. Their numbers already show that. And do you know 7 days after the inauguration of Biden, one of the headlines that came out and said, liberal media had the highest numbers that they've ever had in history. What are they going to do now that Trump's out of power? That was one of the first headlines. But fast forward, we know they were shitting the bed. Turner had to sell CNN. So there's the reality that they also need Trump for these numbers. Democrats are fighting. There is chaos that is not only originating from within the party and within the country, but from extenuating circumstances outside of the country, as they're starting to figure out that there are more, that after they tried to smear Putin as this demagogue, as this monster, as a devil, it's the opposite now. Putin is making friends with everybody, and anybody who wants to be Putin's friend gets a missile. Everybody gets missiles. You want to be my friend? Well, you know what? That's fine. You don't even have to be my friend. Do you hate the U.S.? Cool. That's good enough for me. Here's some missiles. Xi Jinping is being Xi Jinping, calculating and smart. Netanyahu has gone insane. He's doing whatever the hell he wants to do, which I'm not sure was exactly in the U.S.'s plans for all this, by the way. Because they're finding out, oh, damn, we thought that Israel was working for us the whole time. And no, actually, Israel worked for themselves. In fact, the U.S. has been working for Israel. And they're finding that out in real time. I think a lot of people are, really. So, but yeah, is there a script that's written? Yeah, but sometimes things don't go according to scripts. What we are living in right now is chaos. Chaos. That is what's happening. We are living, Ukraine's about to be an infinite war. I don't know what the hell's about to happen there. Even if they do finally decide to switch out Joe Biden, I don't know who the nominee is going to be. I think that it would, me personally, I believe that it would actually be Hillary. I know people think it would be Gavin Newsom, but I think actually it would be Hillary because they need a DOC member. They need somebody who has the power to protect them. At this point, it's not even about getting more power. It's, the elites of the elites. They need someone who knows how to protect them. Kamala don't know how to do that. You get what I'm saying? Like, they don't have the connections that empower other people, that make them more willing to look the other way when you're engaging in corruption. Hillary does. And she can win over the superdelegates, which you need if you're going to be the nominee. And they still are dumb enough to believe that Hillary Clinton somehow would be Donald Trump. They just really believe that. Kat said, chaos is still a script of the elites. Order out of chaos plus everything going according to plan for Albert Pike's letter concerning the 3 world wars. I could buy that. I could buy that chaos is still part of the script of the elites. I can believe that. That part, I definitely believe. I can definitely believe that. I don't necessarily believe that what the Democrats is doing is part of their script. I don't believe that. But could it possibly be serving the script of like the plans or the desired outcome of a greater power, the puppet masters, if you will? That's a possibility. I could see that. But I'm one of those people like, bro, don't give the Democrats more credit than they deserve. Like, don't make them smarter than they are. They're not. Sometimes people confuse, like, they have been able to establish power over a long period of time when no one was paying attention, which is why the moment that people started paying attention, shit started going south for them. All of a sudden, nobody buys your propaganda about Venezuela. Nobody buys your propaganda about Cuba. Nobody buys your propaganda about Bolivia. Nobody buys your propaganda about Libya, Niger, Nigeria, Congo, Syria. Nobody's buying it anymore. And the moment that even Israel, obviously, nobody buys your propaganda anymore, guys. The moment that people were able to pay attention, just a little bit. Now, the Israel situation kind of made everybody pay attention, but the moment that people started paying attention a little bit, Hillary Clinton, who everyone assumed was a shoo-in to be the new leader of the world order, had everything thrown off. Bro, she still had the Clinton Global Initiative up and running because she just knew it. Like, I know that Obama told me I need to actually stop this Clinton Global Initiative before I run for president, but I'm going to be president, so I'll just do what I want. I don't know if y'all noticed, the Clinton Global Initiative donations started slowing down a bit after she lost because it was quid pro quo shit. The moment people began to pay attention a little bit, the script started falling apart. Just because things are not falling apart to the degree or at the speed that you would like, doesn't mean that things aren't still falling apart. That's just the reality. Like, you can't tell me 100-year problem is going to suddenly be completely disposed of in 5 or 6 years. That's not logical. Right? So, just saying. Did you hear the recent interview of Gavin Newsom by Adam Carolla? No, I have not, but I will check it out. Adam Carolla. Who's Adam Carolla? Y'all know I'm horrible with names. Y'all know I'm horrible with names. But yeah, man. Although I like the conversation, I do understand why people would say, oh man, it's all part of the script. It's kind of like lazy. It's lazy. Oh, it's all part of the script. Sometimes it is part of the script, but then you're making a lot of assumptions about like the intelligence and the efficaciousness of the Democratic Party and the powers that be. Like when we know for a fact, like the Democrats are just not that smart. It is not a requisite. As a person who has worked in politics before, I'm telling you, one of the most frustrating things is that you find out it is actually not a requisite for you to be smart. In fact, you seem to get bonus points if you're a fucking idiot. I'm sitting dead ass serious. I'm like, y'all doing this on purpose or accident? That was the hardest part about the DNC fraud lawsuit is I was in an argument with myself because I'm like, I don't know, because I've worked with so many dumb people throughout this campaign. I don't know if they're rigging it on purpose or if the level of incompetence is so prominent that it just looks like it's rigged. Then once again, I found out it was both because they're so stupid that they left themselves wide open, and that's how I figured out it was rigging. So it's easy to say, oh man, yeah, no, it's just, yeah, this is Biden, everything happening with Biden is part of a script. I mean, no, it's not. I can tell you that. That part is, if I could have written the script, this would definitely be it. Biden having a mental collapse in the middle of the election and the Democrats not having the backup plan. If I could write a script about how the Democrats would go down, this would be it. This would definitely be it. Oh man, there's a great debate going on Twitter right now about Biden hugging somebody real quick. I just wanted to talk to y'all about because I thought it was kind of hilarious. And it became a way more serious conversation than I thought it would be. I'm dead. It became way more serious than I thought it would be. But you know, this is the world we live in now. So this is Biden at a rally. I mean, he's really excited. I had to hug him. Really, really excited. Really excited. Just waiting still. She's taking a sip of my drink because she's about to be waiting for a minute. Still waiting. Long video. Still waiting. And still waiting. Still waiting. Walk right past her. And we even had some time to talk to the lady behind her. Yep, hugged her, leaned in, gave it a nice little lean in. Still talking. Still waiting. Yeah, still waiting. Still waiting. And even had time for a selfie. Was really into it. Okay, so yeah, my comments were basically this. You can take the segregationists out of the 60s, but you cannot take the 60s out of the segregationists. That's for damn sure. Now, Sabby, shout out to Sabby, doing her best to correct the record because she said that the video was doctored. I don't know why. Some people say this was the beginning. Also, this is weird that it's cut up like this. Some people said it was the beginning. Some people say he came back to hug her. Some people said that he hugged her first. They're making 50 different arguments. But I want to show y'all something. Is he hugging her? Or did she just take matters into her own hands? Because that's what I got is. Because they're like, oh, this post is doctored. I'm like, bro, that is a very long video. And it does not look doctored. Maybe the person didn't see this. I can see that. But like, bro, if you came back to hug her, why did you skip over her to begin with? Because it wasn't doctored. We saw it. We saw the whole thing. Look. He talking to her, talking to him. Like, you can't fake that face. Hey, just kidding. Oh, just kidding. All right. I hope no cameras are looking at me right now. All right. Okay, still waiting. All right. I like this doesn't bother me. Right? You can't fake that face. She was pissed. And in this video, where they say that he hugged, oh no, he went back to hug her. He didn't go back to hug her. It looked like he went back to talk to the white guy, and she was standing in the way. And she was like, I refuse to leave here without getting a hug. That's what it looked like to me. I don't know about y'all. No, what Rondo said. The optics are horrible. It really looked like he forgot that he told people that they're not black if he doesn't vote for him. I'm curious about y'all's opinion about that, though, while I go through these super chats, because I'm under the belief that this is just a bad look. That he did skip over her. He didn't just skip over her. He talked to the person beside her, went around her, talked to this person over here, had a conversation, took a selfie, went to the other woman behind her, and then when it was finally time to go back, which is what people were claiming that he did, he went back to talk to the other guy. It wasn't even to acknowledge her. She just was like, fuck that, I'm getting my hug, and went in for the swoop. It, probably, for Biden, it probably gave him some recognizable, sexual assault vibes. Because, Biden's a fan of touching people without their consent. So, thank you very much, Halima Omar, for the super chat. Sparky, Adam Carolla was one of the comedians from The Man Show along with Jimmy Kimmel, except Carolla didn't sell out. Oh, okay, nice. Check that out. Halima Omar, hey, Niko, I sent an email to your YouTube about sections email. Oh, in my YouTube about section, email listed. If it's NikoForThePeople@gmail.com, I will check it out, because that's my email that I have listed on YouTube. NikoForThePeople@gmail.com. My emails do not necessarily go to my, no, they don't go. Usually, if you have a real email, they don't go to my spam folder. It's just, I only check my emails once a day because I have a lot to respond to. So, but I will check it out. Thank you for the super chat. But what are y'all like? Wesley Dennis, it was a bad luck for her to even show up at all. Yeah, it was a bad look. And it looked like it looked like somebody put her there, right? That's what makes it even worse. Because they do that. Like, I've been to these campaign events before. They definitely will take certain people to make the optics look better. And if she was one of the only black people in the room and she's young, she fits that demographic that they're trying to recruit, I can see them putting her there. But what makes it even crazier is she's like, I know they did not just put me here just for this motherfucker to walk right by me and not even acknowledge me, have a full conversation with this dude beside me and this lady beside me, and then take a selfie with this motherfucker. Like, at least I guess she was into selfie, at least that, right? At least she got that. Jim Crow Joe. They don't call him Jim Crow Joe for nothing. Luke Carl said, maybe after he hugged her, he went back to hug the white lady. I'm with Sabby. It looks like a hug to me. I mean, it looks like she hugged him, but there was no acknowledgement. And I can't read his lips. I don't know for a fact. I'm not going to pretend like I know for a fact, but do you see? We can do comparison. Look at the way that he interacted with everybody else that he hugged and talked to versus her. And the video of her hug, which is basically just her forcing herself onto him, is short as hell. Like, every video that I've seen, they're like, oh no, you're leaving this part out. And it's like, okay, we'll show the whole thing unedited and uncut, because they only cut that part where she actually leans in to hug him. You get what I'm saying? So if he goes back, where the energy at is what I'm saying. Why is the energy not matching the energy that he had with literally everybody else around her? And why did he skip her to begin with? She literally tried to initiate a conversation with him. And he just yeah, damn that. And now, look, it's just Biden, so he is known to just walk away in the middle of a conversation in the opposite direction. So there's that part, I guess. But the energy don't match. Oh my God. Rondo Ellsworth said she was too old to pull his leg hairs. If you get it, you get it. I can't explain it to you. I don't want to get demonetized. She was ready to go up her thigh though. Y'all wrong, bro. Snork Y2K in dementia training, we were told they can't see black or dark things. Is that real? Is that real? Because I was told that, like, I mean, not even just told. In my experience, people who were kind of racist before, when they get dementia or going through like a neurological breakdown as they get older, they just become kind of more of that. So I don't really know if I buy that, but I guess it sounds good. I don't know. I guess it sounds good. Oh man. That's just oof. I don't know. I mean, I respect Sabby for trying to at least correct the record because she felt like she was wrong on that because the clip was incomplete. But my point for me, at least, it didn't move me at all. I'm like, nah, bro, like you passed over her and then you went back and then you didn't really hug her. She hugged you and like they cut that shit out quick. It's almost like they were trying to like, man, let's switch before people realize like that this girl is just sitting here staring out into the abyss, waiting for Biden to acknowledge her. Because like I said, at the bare minimum, it is a lack of energy being matched. Okay, like you conversating and taking selfies with everybody else, and she had to force her hug upon you. But beyond that, you didn't even talk to her. At least not from anything that we saw. So, Candle Surfer, love you, brother. Love you too, man. Shout out to everybody who stopped by today, man. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up. On Thursday, we have a great show for you guys. I got JB coming on from RBN. He's going to be talking about a lot of the stuff that comes out this week with me. It's been a long time coming. I've been trying to get JB on for a while, but because he has dialysis along with my weird schedule and being in different time zones, it's been kind of difficult since I moved to Rio. But finally, I get another one of these RBN brothers on. I'm really excited to have JB on. And I wanted to talk to you all before I go. If you have anybody that you would like to see me have on the show that you would like for me to reach out to, you can shoot me an email at my email that's listed on my YouTube, or you can DM me on Twitter, or you can at me on Twitter. My ads are open. You can tag me because I definitely want to have more guests on that you guys would enjoy. And by the way, I'm not like limited. It doesn't have to be like some YouTuber that talks about specific like U.S. politics, or like if they have interesting conversations, interesting ideas, or interesting opinions, I like to have them on too. I just like to have conversations. Y'all know that. So y'all let me know. Shoot me an email, shoot me a DM, tag me on Twitter, and I will go ahead and make a list of people to start inviting on for our main show on Thursday. All right. Like I said, if y'all want to help support the show, you can become a member of the channel where you get exclusive content, behind the scenes content, all that good stuff. You can share the show, subscribe, become a premium Rockfin member. And on Rockfin, of course, you do know that you get if you pay for one premium, if you get one premium membership for one content creator, you actually get it for all content creators on Rockfin. So that's pretty dope. Yeah, other than that, ladies and gentlemen, like this video, share this video, go check out some of the clips that we posted over the weekend, but always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.